was watching my boy Bruce run his game. Of course, he's got Janet over there and Crafting Gamer and all those guys. It looks like a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I don't generally like watching live plays, but if that's what you're into, just so you know, Bruce is doing it. Maybe you should check it out. I am painting bunks for a sci-fi thing, and I'm painting the blankets green because I remember when I was in the Army, we had green blankets. They were actually green wool blankets. So you definitely, if you're going to sleep in the bed, want to get under the sheet because, you know, wool can really be something, you know. It can be a little itchy, as they say. But we cheated anyway, though. We made our beds super good and then used elastic clips on all the corners to keep the bed super tight, the blanket and everything. And then I would have like a little blanket, like a light blanket, basically barely more than a heavy sheet, really, in my wall locker. And every night when I would go to bed, I would just sleep on top of my bunk. Damn, I'm working here. Deckard. Hey, here's a question for you, Deckard. Why aren't you streaming, man? What's up? You got phone and a camera and stuff. Make it happen, Captain. You could get on and like narrate your stories that you talked about back in the day, you know, maybe wanting to write. That would be cool. I mean, if you ever wanted to do like a story / comic book, because I remember you were talking about stuff like that years ago now, I think. It's going great, Unscripted. How are you doing, bro? I know you got a stream later tonight, right? Rather not show your face. Hey, you know, make a cartoon and like an image and use that, right? I mean, that's what I do when I stream in other parts of the house because I don't want anybody to see anywhere but my game room. I always have some other kind of icon on or something. And, you know, it works out. As a matter of fact, I think sometimes it might work out better. Like maybe I should use one of those programs that makes me look like a South Park character or something. And, well, I'll throw a link in for you, even though I know you're a busy man, but just to show a little bit of hospitality. No worries, though, if you can't. But here's my pitch to you, Deckard, since you were talking about wanting to be all creative. A cult devoted to Shub-Niggurath, the black goat with 1,000 young, in a holler in eastern Kentucky near a small town that no one ever goes to and dominated by a very degraded, degenerate, inbred family, right? And then somehow the protagonists of the story end up there. Whether it's they got off at the wrong exit on the interstate or they were sent there to explore something, whatever it is, right? Like you could write a whole story about that. And hey, DM Bloodworth, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Let me try to get situated.
How are things up there?
Pretty good. I've been pretty much chilling, doing a lot of stuff around the house. You know,
yeah, this is my pre-chore stream.
Yeah, I had a little hospital procedure done yesterday, so but that went.
I hope it wasn't anything serious. I mean, you look great.
Nothing serious. Nope, nothing serious. Just you know, getting older, kind of maintenance, right? So
I know. Every time I go to my doctor, he's like, "Have you let him look in your butt yet?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah,
He's
that's
like,
that's kind
you
of what
got to
this
do that,
was, just to,
right?
check the old colon out. And
And he tells me that he's like, that has to be done at your age, right? And I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, but
so
I'm really kind of afraid. And he's like, you won't even know. They'll knock your ass out. And I'm
yep,
like, for
yeah,
real?
that's what it is. It's like
I was
you're
like, well,
you
maybe then. I mean, are they going to buy me dinner or at least, kiss me? And then he always laughs because my doctor was a doctor in the Army before he got
yeah.
his own practice. So I go in there and just it's like hanging out. He was a captain.
I'm just exhausted. That's the only thing, is that it's I think it was all the prep and everything leading into it that really kicked my ass. No pun intended. But it was like Wednesday, Thursday, then
Oh,
you
you got to
know
drink the clear broth and then
yeah, and
all that
the
crap.
stuff
Yeah.
that can basically flushes you out. And then
Yeah.
I then the procedure was so early in the morning. They're like, all right, you have to be at the hospital by 6 a.m. I was like, what the fuck? My plus my wife had to go too, so because I needed a driver. So we got up at like 4:45, left the house around 5:15, got there at exactly 6 on the head, and I was out of there by 8 o'clock. Yeah, it was like 7:15, 8 o'clock was the whole procedure all said and done. Then got home and I was just like, oh, I was just exhausted, because I lived on nothing but green Jello for like 2 days. So, and as
Yeah.
a
When I
diabetic,
had
not
my
to have that, like my
procedure.
blood sugar was like super low. So that's what really
Yeah.
knocked me out, was the
Yeah.
fact that my blood sugar was low, like 90, something like that. So they're like, oh, well, that's good for a normal person, but if you're diabetic, that's pretty darn low. So I was like, all right, well, that'll explain that.
Yeah. I mean, I typically run at about 80, but Bear and I were talking, and we've established that I'm not diabetic.
Hmm.
I was pre-diabetic, which scared me into losing 20 or 80 pounds.
Oh,
Now,
nice.
granted, I've gained 15 back because,
Yeah,
but as long as I take my metformin and stuff, my
that's
A1C the last time they checked was like 5.1.
yeah, that's almost exactly where I was at the last time they checked me. I was like 5 point something, down from 8.3.
I was 9.8.
Yeah, and I was on, the metformin and Rybelsus. I've lost about 35 pounds,
Yeah, yeah.
on those two things. So
I
I'm.
went on a carno diet for like 3 months.
Hmm.
I just ate meat and spinach every day. Chicken
Yeah,
breast, steak, spinach, nothing else. And when I went back to my doctor and they had me step on the scales, they're like, holy shit.
yeah.
They're like, how'd you do this? And I said, I just started eating meat and nothing else. And he's
Mhm.
like, well, I don't know if that's great, but he's like, your blood sugar's great now. Everything's up.
Yeah,
I had what they called pre-insulin resistant something.
yeah.
Like my body's creating all the insulin it would ever need. It's just the muscles weren't absorbing it right.
Right.
So now I take a walk around the block. I eat healthy, no problems.
Yeah.
I still avoid sugar though.
Yeah,
Like,
I've never been like a big sugar person anyway. Like I don't put sugar in my coffee. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I avoid um I avoid soda, for the most part.
one of the ways I lost all my weight is I cut soda completely.
Yeah. Yeah, once in a blue moon, like if I'm at a restaurant, I'll have a ginger ale. That's the only kind of soda I'll drink, is ginger ale.
Oh,
Um
one of the things I miss, bro, is I used to brew and
mhm.
ferment my own ginger beer,
Yeah.
and I would make a gallon a week.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you've ever fermented or made ginger beer, but it's like
Yeah.
it starts with like a cup and a half of sugar,
Right.
like straight up cane sugar, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you take your fresh ginger and you grind it up and put it in that syrup.
Right.
and you let it cook for a little while, and then you strain it all off and add the water. And when it's room temperature, the yeast. I've
Yeah.
got this giant glass, and it's got the bubbler
Mhm.
on it, and so if you let it go for 2 or 3 days, it's not very alcoholic, but if you let it go a full week, it can get up there, right? But I haven't done that because ginger beer is just but I'm not gonna lie, like you said, you'll get ginger ale. Because I love ginger ale. Last time we were out at the bar, I had my wife get me a Moscow Mule,
Mhm.
which is vodka ginger beer served in a frozen copper mug.
That's interesting.
Oh, they're really good. I mean,
Yeah.
because vodka is like whatever, and ginger beer. So it's like, and it's a copper cup basically. And the one they served me, it looked like it was hand hammered, and it comes right out of the freezer. So it's a Russian thing,
Yeah.
but whatever. But I'm glad you're doing well. You look good.
Yeah, like I said, I was 270 in June, and I'm down to 238 now. So
That is awesome. I
yeah,
stepped on the scales before they said what they said. I was 302 pounds.
wow.
And I mean, granted, I'm like, 6'1". So
Hmm.
I mean, I had the dad bod, but I
Yeah,
didn't. I was like, because I never weigh myself.
yeah, that's where I carry it. I carry it in the stomach mostly,
Stress.
but you know, people say, "Oh, you lost it in the face, and you're, you know, lost a little bit in the legs." So I mean, my stomach is definitely smaller than it was, but it's still that's the last place it leaves. So well, I'm
I had
hoping
to
to
invest
be.
in a new belt
Yeah, I'm hoping
because all
to.
of the pants I love fall
Oh
off
yeah,
of me.
yeah. That's the big thing. It's like I used to be a 46, and a 46, I'm floating in a 46 now.
See, at
So
300 pounds, I was a 42.
yeah, so you had it all elsewhere. Yeah, the
Yeah.
waist you can get tighter in that but now it's like a 44 is easily what I'm at. That's comfortable wear. I haven't tried to get into a 42 yet. That would be you know,
The
wow. Hey,
pants
DM
that
Dave.
the
So
pants that I can actually wear that won't fall off of me are 38s.
mm, down
But when I was in
270
the
from
army, I was wearing a
367. Nice.
32. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I was a 32 waist, 32 long, 180 pounds.
Yeah, that was my set. That was well, I was never a long. I was always a short,
270 from
but I was a 32.
367.
Yeah, in
Damn,
the
good
army
job, Dave.
I was 188 and a 32 waist.
Yeah. Like occasionally, they didn't do it all the time because eventually they just stopped. But there was a while where they'd always separate me out and call the medics
Yeah.
over to do the tape test. But then they'd measure my neck and chest and my gut and then my biceps, and they'd be like, "Oh no, this dude's, body fat is like under, way
Yeah,
under the minimums. He's just a big guy." Which back then, if I wasn't at the motor pool working on the Bradley, out in the field doing some
hmm
shit, I was at the gym.
right.
So, and I was taking all kinds of creatine and supplements, which just makes your body hold water really in your muscles.
Right.
So I'm out here, working out like crazy, and I'm 18 years old and jacked, and so they'd measure. Eventually, they just stopped. It's like when they would do our weights and our heights, the medic would just be like, "All right, Specialist McKee, go on." Because they knew I didn't need to go to fat camp. They could look at me. I'm sitting there, washboard abs and freaking.
No, I was small when I went in. I was 155, and
What's up,
probably
James
maybe a 30 waist when I went in. I finished up basic training. I finished up basic training at like 170, 177. I gained like 20 pounds in basic training.
I
And then it was
stayed the
188
same
after
weight.
advanced training.
I stayed the same weight in basic training.
Yeah. No, I gained nothing but muscle.
I gained nothing but muscle, but I was 140 pounds, 5'10", 5'11", 17. And I lived a very kosher, strict lifestyle because I don't know if you know this, but I actually was raised in a Jewish home.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not ethnically Jewish, it's, it happened. My mom married a Jewish guy when I was very young, and we were kosher and conservative, though. We didn't mess around with the Talmud or any of that shit. Right? Just the Torah and Tanakh. No Talmud, no Kabbalah, no wearing red thread around our, none of that witchcraft, right? But anyway. So in basic training, I had a guy that always sit next to me because he knew I wasn't going to eat the bacon or the sausage. So I basically lived off just the scrambled eggs and the toast.
Right.
And then if the dinner was something not kosher, they knew I wasn't going to eat it. So I didn't gain weight, but I started getting yoked, but I didn't gain weight. AIT, when I actually had control over what I ate, when they moved us on to the second part of the thing, then that's when I went from like 140 to 180.
Yeah.
But it was just 180 of muscle because by then I think I just turned 18. I mean, I could do like 20 pull-ups. We had to do pull-ups before we could go into the chow hall. I mean, good times,
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, and maybe I'm just being stupid and arrogant, if I didn't have the torn brachial nerve and all the titanium in my spine and neck, I feel like I could still advance an inch and 3/4 hose, no problem.
Yeah.
I feel like I could still throw a 24-foot ladder. I'm probably wrong. It would probably try, but in my brain, I still,
No, I'm
but look at this.
near...
Dave, the GM, has went from 367. He's lost 100
I saw that.
pounds.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That is really good.
I think my ideal weight would be to go, get back down to like 190. One time a couple years ago, I was doing various things and doing some of those like, not weird diets, but I had this one program where I did come down. Now, it wasn't as heavy as I was this time around. I think I was around 250, and I came down to 204, and I felt awesome at 204. So I would love to get back down to like 200. I'd be satisfied with that. I think I when I was on that time, I hit that, like I had that target set in my head of like, the 190. And once I stopped moving towards that, like I was no longer losing anything when I was down in the low 200s. And it just like messed me up. I was like, you know what? I'm going to slack off here or there a little bit because it's not coming off anymore. And there's not much more I can do. And then I went on vacation, put on like 15 pounds on vacation. It was like crazy how much I put on that. Just that one summer, I put on so much weight. And then it was like bang, 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 went right back up. And, now that was like, that might have been like 2020, so certainly just before COVID.
Guys like
COVID,
us,
I put all the weight back on.
It's like it's a struggle to lose a pound. It's easy to gain 10 though. And I maybe it's I mean, I had to get tested, and there for a while I had low T, but then I got that fixed, and a lot of that was the weight too. It was like after I lost all the weight I lost, my testosterone levels skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Plus, again, I was eating nothing but like steak all day and spinach, and I was just like,
Yeah.
But like you said, I can totally agree with you. After I lost all that weight, I remember like one day my wife asked me to do something, and I did it, and it was so easy. Like she asked me to like air up her tires. I've got one of those machines that, like a Ryobi, that I can put air in tires and shit. And I went out and did it, which means a lot of kneeling and bending over and whatever. And I was like, that was easy.
Yeah.
Then I redid a couple sprinkler heads and shit. And I was like, because when I was at 300 plus pounds, man, I would like get out of winded going to the mailbox.
Yeah.
And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you're losing all that weight. I'm just like,
Yeah.
shit.
The only time I feel great is when I have my, once in a while I'll get hit with like asthma and bronchitis at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Plus allergies, seasonal allergies. It usually hits me, the same time every year around October, November-ish, and then again, it used to hit me around this time of the year, but I didn't get it this time of the year. I think because of the weight loss, so I didn't get I didn't get hit with the asthma this year. But when two or three of them hit me at the same time, my doctor always put me on prednisone, and
Which will make you blow up.
no, actually, it doesn't do that for me at all. It doesn't make me blow up. All right, but I'm only on usually like 10 days. But during that 10 days, I can do every freaking thing I used to be able to do. It's like, oh, you want me to move this furniture around? No problem. You want me to, lug all this shit around the house? No problem at all. The 5-gallon jug of water? No problem. The, changing tires? Easy. Doing plumbing work underneath the sink, not a problem. I can bend down. I can do all that stuff. I feel like I'm 30 years old.
What a blessing for you because prednisone for me, and believe me, when I, fractured my vertebrae and everything, they had to fix it. I was on a lot of prednisone, and it just made me like gain weight. Like,
yeah, no, I've never gained.
Because when I was in the fire department, I was never anywhere near 300 pounds.
Yeah.
I was a solid maybe 240, 220, because again, I was working out all the time and whatever, but then I got injured and they put me on prednisone and a bunch of other shit. And all I did is sit it on my ass all day because I couldn't move and drink Coke Classic by the liter, and all that sugar and everything. Hey, Satya, thanks for dropping in. Say hi, man. And
my family's home. All right. Hey, I just popped in to say hello. My family just got home from a day of shopping, so I'll see what my girls are doing and what they came up with. And yeah, we're putting on a new door tomorrow. I'll probably stream tomorrow, so I'll check you out. We usually stream on Sundays, right?
Yeah, I game from like 6 o'clock to midnight Sundays.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm running Old School Essentials.
Yeah. No, I run Shadow Dark tonight, so I'll be running Shadow Dark tonight from like 8 to 10 o'clock or so. Doing West Marches with that.
Our boy did a video talking about how, and by our boy, I mean Jay Scott.
Yeah.
He did a video, and apparently the game that the Critters put out, or something, he loves it.
Yeah, I picked it up too. I haven't read it too much yet. But
so,
all right, I gotta run. You all take it easy. Take care, everyone in chat.
Salute to you, sir. Remember, for the people and glory of Rome, the Senate people and glory, actually, SPQR. We need to bring that shit back, right? Some people are like, no, I don't know if we do, but yeah. I was watching Carl Benjamin the other day. Don't switch channels. Carl Benjamin's not that bad of a guy. And he was talking about how orthodoxy has increased in America by 3 times, 300% in the last couple of years. And he, who is a British atheist, obviously, he was like, and people, I guess somebody in the Daily Mail or something wrote an article trying to explain why so many people in America are converting to ROKOR, which is Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia, right? And of the 300% increase over the last couple of years, 67%, and I love all these percentages because we all know you can make percentages mean anything you want, right? But this is what the did some painting, gamed. Look at this, guys. Getting your Space Wolves done. Man, awesome. I think I am pretty much done with this batch of necromorphs. And I'm sorry, my camera never likes to focus in, but I think I'm pretty much done. There's around 20 of them. I've got some brutes, some slashers, some leapers, you know. As a matter of fact, I'm UV curing the bases so they can have special sci-fi bases that look like the floor of a starship. But anyway, and yeah, 67% of all new converts are young men, like under 30. And then of the rest, it's older men and the wives of the young men. And so they went to this priest that runs an Orthodox diocese in Texas. See, look at that. Yeah. And they asked this guy, they're like, why do you think this is? Is it because the Orthodox Church is so masculine? And bear in mind, the guy who was the acting priest who went by, you know, Moses is the name he took. I don't know. His real name was like, I don't know, Cliff or something, but, you know, Father Moses. This dude in his younger life had been a professional bodybuilder. So you've got this guy in the priest habit with the big Orthodox cross hanging off his neck. And he's like 6'8" and probably a solid nothing but muscle, 340 pounds. This guy's like, you know, he looks like a silverback gorilla or some shit, right? And he said the best thing I think I've ever heard an Orthodox priest say about the church when they asked him, is it because the Orthodox Church is like super masculine? His response was, no, we're just normal. And like the reporter was like looking at him like, you know, because I mean, and then Carl Benjamin went on and started showing other churches, and they were doing things that, I mean, even atheists are like, that's some weird shit. You sleep well, Satya, you know, and pleasant dreams, sir. But they were showing the Protestant churches. Granted, these were in Britain because, you know, that's where he is, and all of the stuff they get up to. And Carl Benjamin is basically saying, doesn't it just make sense? I mean, you're a young man. You've been told that you're an evil prick by society for basically the last 20 years. You go to a church and it's all super feminine and with rainbow flags everywhere and all this ultra progressive shit that's infected the church. So you don't feel at home there because you're a normal guy that believes in being a guy and having a girl and, you know, whatever. And these people eventually find their way to the Orthodox Church. And, you know, you walk in there and you realize that the Orthodox Church is just normal. You know, it's not masculine. There's tons of women in the Orthodox Church, but it's normal and it accepts the fact that, you know, gender roles, and it doesn't try to push political ideology on you, and it doesn't, you know, try to make you feel bad for being a man or sinning or something, you know. It just tries to help you do better. Do better. Worry about yourself. Do better. And yeah, I can believe that, Dave. I converted a while back, and then a guy and a girl gamer I used to hang out with, they both converted. They moved though, but I went Russian Orthodox. They went Greek, which is just the same thing, really. And then all of a sudden, in a city that had never had an Orthodox church, we've got 3. You know, they're just popping up. And yeah, I think that there's like, I don't know if it's a backlash or a reaction to the last 20 years of, you know, the Prague message, that a lot of just normal, average, working class, not rich at all guys like me I mean, the most money I ever made in a year as a firefighter is $35,000. That is the most. And that is a 100% professional paid firefighter working for the city here. Yeah. I guess the chiefs make a lot of money, but the guys on the actual trucks, not really. Like when I tell people what firefighters make down here, they're always like, what? And I always say, well, you do it because you love it. The money is a nice bonus, but you love it. You go in, it's exciting. Everyone looks up to you. You can get addicted to that, I mean, I got to admit, it's really cool when you're chilling at a party, you're talking to dudes, and then somebody's like, so what do you do for a living? And you're just like, oh, I'm a firefighter for the city of whatever, and they're like, really? And it's like, yeah. And it's even cooler when they say, so am I, but I work for Lakeland. And then you're all like high-fiving, woo, the brotherhood, right? But yeah, man. And this is also, I mean, since I'm talking a little bit, not politically, but just go talk to a priest. You'll know when you walk in the door, you'll know if that's for you. Like you'll totally know. Yeah, well, Russian Orthodox is the big one because when Constantinople fell and then later Greece fell, all of the priests and all of the relics and everything that had been in East Rome, Constantinople, were ferried across the sea to Crimea. And then from Crimea to Moscow. So Moscow became basically the second Constantinople. And that's why, plus of all the branches of Orthodoxy, the Russian branch, even though the OSE-A, the American branch, is catching up, they're the most evangelical. Like they're the ones you see the most, like there's a Serbian church near us, and unless you know a Serbian person, you wouldn't even know the church is there because they're not bad. They're great people, but they're a little insular, like, plus they do mass in Serbian. I don't speak Serbian. So it's like, whatever. And the church I go to does 3 masses, Russian, English, and Spanish, so that everyone in the congregation gets mass in their own language, which in the Orthodox Church is a commandment. That mass should always be given in the language of the people you're giving it to. I'll tell you what, this new American Pope has already come out and been like, oh, yeah, we got to think about Eastern Christianity. And he did a Pope thing saying, yeah, popes are not infallible. I mean, who even knows? Wouldn't it be amazing if this was the guy that finally healed the schism between the East and the West? I mean, brings a tear to the eye, man. Be amazing. But I'm not going to have a lot of hope for it. But hey, he could be the guy, All they got to do is reject a few heresies and they're in, the Roman Catholics. I mean, there's just a few heretical things. But the word heretic, literally all it means is a disagreement on religious doctrine. It doesn't mean like, I want you dead. It just means if we're talking about doctrine and you believe stuff that I feel I know is not correct, you are a heretic. But you can be saved. So, yeah. If you get a chance, though, like I said, check it out. It's a whole different thing. You go to the Orthodox Church, people there want to be there. You know what I mean? You can feel it when you walk in the door. Everyone there wants to be there. It's surrounded with beautiful icons and images of the Theotokos and the Messiah and all the different saints, and above and beyond everything else, it's super God and Christ centered. And then on top of that, it's very serious. So no, you won't have an organ person doing Inagata Davida, and you won't have a bunch of people doing all this crazy shit like a Taylor Swift concert. You will have priests who are very seriously performing mass. So if that's what you're into, yeah, check it out. Yeah, that papal primacy thing, I'm glad it's gone. I don't know which pope created it, but it was way back in the day. I mean, the Roman Catholics, not to be like on the attack with them, but they did go through a stint of some incredibly horrible popes. Bear.
Hey.
My good sir. Oh, nice shirt. Loving it.
You.
Oh, yeah. I never bought those comics, but because I bought the black and white magazine size ones.
Savage Sword.
Yeah, by Basima and
Thomas.
Chan.
And Roy Thomas wrote on that. And basically a lot of what we know as the modern Conan comes from Marvel Comics, more so than what's his name?
But I saw those. That was Conan the Barbarian, I think.
Yeah.
And they were the more comic book sized ones, and they were colored.
Yeah. And they were colored,
Yeah. I mean, I saw them. I think I read a few of them. I read one where he goes into a crypt and he has to fight a bunch of giant, incredibly horrible looking pill bugs. Because they basically look like pill bugs, but their legs were like ended with like, and they would jump on you and just dig in. You know what I mean? Wow. And you know, but you know, that's Conan. He's always fighting some crazy cryptid from the dinosaur age or something, you know, and he escaped with his handful of gems and went to the nearest town of Shadowzar or whatever and got really drunk and partied. Because, you know, I mean, that's the whole goal if you're Conan. It's like, make money, get bitches.
Yeah, pretty much. What is best in life? Making money and getting laid.
Yeah. But, yeah, I agree, Dave. Satya already went to bed, but he's in Finland, so they're like 12-hour different than us.
More than that. No, Finland?
It's on the other side of Scandinavia.
Well, it is still Scandinavia. It's
now it is, but it didn't used to be. Used to, the Scandies would say, no, those guys are Urgic Turks.
They're 7 hours ahead of us.
And now they say they're hybrid Turk/Slav. And the language they speak is like got a lot of Russian loanwords in it.
Stop.
Oh, the kitty.
It's one of them. He doesn't like the food in the bowl, so he's decided if he just headbutts me enough times under the desk, I'll happily. There we go. Hi, Misty. I'll happily go replace his bowl.
There's the fuzzy one.
But he's not getting new food.
Your trans cat.
His fucking bowl. The non-gender is it the gender fluid non-binary trans cat?
Yeah.
Misty, as in missing testicles. Misty.
Yeah, that was a wonderful story. The whole vets were like, "Oh, it's a guy, it's a girl, it's a guy." We don't even know what this thing is.
Insane. And he's been really friendly today.
For all of you guys watching the stream right now, this is a rare privilege.
Yeah, this cat never comes up.
You don't see Misty very often.
You see Beans all the time.
Yeah, Beans is always trying to climb up Bear and be a part of the show. But which Misty's we love Beans. We love Beans being on the show.
Beans has spunk and Misty's pretty.
Yeah, you can tell how he is just kind of laying there being like, I'm pretty.
Yeah, I know it. I knows it. Man.
Got that pretty privilege going on.
Yeah. I mean, they were kittens, and the first time I took them to the vet, I opened up the carrier and I said, which one do you want first? And she said, the pretty one. And I handed her Misty, and she's like, exactly. So, you know, little emo cat. Oh, are we shy now? Oh, now he's figured out. He knows what the camera is, and he can figure out when the camera's on.
He's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm being recorded. This could be used against me in the future.
What do you want to do? You want to go or you want to stay up?
Should I stay or should I go now?
You just want me to give you different food. It's not happening, buddy. Dream a little dream.
Bloodworth dropped in just for a minute. That was nice. And I'm going to tell you what I mentioned to him because I think it's kind of a big deal. Our bro Jay Scott did a short the other day talking about, I think I might have told you this before, the new game that the Critters put out.
Daggerheart.
Huh?
Daggerheart.
Apparently, J. Scott is screaming its blessings to the freaking universe.
Oh my God, we talked about it last night on the Four Color Cafe, and Mr. Boivin was there, and they're using it on his show, and he was not like the way he described it. It was like, well, this is a complicated mess of stupidity.
Our homie up in the Windy City, or not the Windy City, the city of Philly, brotherly love and all that. He's saying D&D finally has a competitor.
I disagree. I think he is a fair weatherian. I guess I don't know how to say it. Fair weatherian. Like he goes with what's popular. So 5e's popular. It's the greatest fucking game in the world. Oh, Daggerheart's going to sell 1 million copies because of all the critters. Oh, well, that's obviously the best game ever. But it uses cards. It has a weird mechanic for doing your modifiers where it's like adding steps. It does not sound like a good game.
Huh. Well, I wasn't going to buy it.
I'm not buying it. Let's put it that way. I'm not spending the $50, which is a decent price for it, given how big it is. I'm not spending the $50 on it.
Yeah, I'm not buying it either, and it has nothing to do with who made it or anything. It just has to do with I'm actually selling shit.
Oh, yeah, what are you selling?
So,
what are you selling?
I put together one of those big storage Cambros. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Full of 40K stuff, and put it up on my market, $500. Whoever wants it. Oh, there's like $1,000 worth of stuff in it.
Yeah, no. I said good for you. Hopefully you'll get what you need for it.
No one's hit me up on that, but I also said I was going to sell all of my 3D printers except for the Saturn IV Ultra.
Wow,
$100. That's 4 printers.
Holy shit.
One of them might need a new LCD screen. And they're all beat to hell because I've had them for years and I've touched them when I had my gloves on. So there's resin fingerprints or glove prints on them. But 3 of the 4 work beautifully. And the 4th one, if you get the LCD screen fixed, if that is the problem, it will work beautifully. And Elgu is really good about customer support. I mean, they're amazing about customer support. So somebody out here in Central Florida, if they're smart, they can come over here and drop a Benji and take home a couple of little printers because these are all smaller than the one I currently have. But the one I currently have, it's self-leveling, self-everything. So it's like the Saturn IV Ultra 12K is literally, if you are a special ed type person, right? Your brain don't work. You forget shit all the time, whatever. This is the printer for you. Because once you set it up, it is literally plug and play. Set it up, pour resin in that shit, crank out. Beautiful prints with no misprints. Because it does literally everything. Except tell you it loves you. And you could probably get it to do that. Because it's got an onboard thing. And it's also Bluetooth and Wi-Fi compatible.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, not that I do that. I still prefer the, thumb drive. Make my STLs, put them on the thumb drive.
Sure.
Go out and plug it in, and then do the thing. But yeah, I was surprised and about the Garby thing. I actually may make a video about it. Just to be like, check this shit out, because he has talked so much shit about OSRs and every other game other than 5e for so long. I mean, Garby hates the OSR. He hates every fantasy game that's not 5e.
Yeah. And
he said it point blank. In one video, said, if you're playing a game that ain't 5e, you're a bad person. And you're also hurting the gaming community.
Oh my God.
And now all of a sudden he's singing the praises of this game that apparently is nothing like D&D at all. But he's saying this is the competitor.
You'll have to tell him that
it's not that I want to call him out for being a hypocrite. I absolutely don't. I want to support him. Because if his viewpoint is expanding and he's starting to get to where he realizes that, hey, you can play more than one game. I mean, which he does. He plays Mecton. He plays Traveler. I mean, I know a guy in his game group. They're always playing games. They were playing freaking what's the one where you start out in a vault and then you wander around the wilderness?
Fallout.
Yeah, they're playing Fallout.
Yeah.
The Free League game. I think Free League, or was it Modiphius made
Modiphius does Fallout. Modiphius does Fallout.
Yeah, so it's like, get out of here. That's why I always think that his channel is like a put on.
I'd agree with that.
To quote The Who.
The Who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Who songs.
The Who are an amazing little band.
Yeah, they're all right. I didn't love them the way some people did, but I did like that song especially, you know.
Surprisingly, my favorite Who song is not one that most people would be very fond of, which is Athena.
I don't know if I've even heard it, so I can't have an opinion.
Love that song.
I like the Guess Who though, 8 Miles High, I think.
Yeah.
I like that one.
That's a Canadian band.
Are they?
The Guess Who? Yeah.
See, I didn't know. I didn't know. I don't remember because I often get them and the band confused. Oh, the band's good too, though.
Yeah, Canadian band from Winnipeg, Manitoba. The Guess Who?
Winnipeg.
Burton Cummings, Randy Bachman, Derek Sharp. Bachman going on to make Bachman Turner Overdrive.
BTO, baby. Yeah, hey, I hope you got some good stuff on and didn't have to pay too much for it, Jose. Oh yeah, 8 Miles High was literally just like a 70s staple, you know. Starts out with the weird guitar that, and then 8 Miles High, which I think it's about getting nuked.
It's about getting fucked in a plane, I believe.
That would be good too. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that's way better than getting nuked.
I think Professor of Rock did a show where it was on one of his shows.
I love that guy.
Huh.
Yeah.
3 chords and the truth.
Yeah. He is the guy who pointed out that it is a little known fact that the guitarist of Limp Bizkit is considered like one of the greatest guitarists in the rock industry now. And people are always asking this guy, why do you even hang out with that joke group from Jacksonville? And his response is fun. But that's also why anytime you see him in videos, he's always wearing crazy outfits and shit, like dressed up like a skeleton or whatever. Because for him, jamming with Limp Bizkit is like what he does when he's not at his real job or something.
Give me a second. I'll be right back. I got to measure something.
All right. So, yeah. So, there you heard it here first, guys. The guitarist from Limp Bizkit apparently rated in the top 50 rock guitarists of all time. I wouldn't have ever thought that, but hey, But then again, I mean, Limp Bizkit songs to me are for like high school chads, that want to just drive around their Toyota Tracker or whatever and try and pick up chicks. And that's what Limp Bizkit in my brain, that it's kind of like, yeah, that's definitely like a young people kind of thing. That's a high school kind of band. That's not really like, no one's listening to Limp Bizkit and being like, yeah, that moved me. But if you're just cruising around trying to pick up the babes on a weekend, I mean, then I can totally dig it, because I did it all for the nookie, right? I mean, at least, and he even tells them he's a simp. Like in the song, he's like, I know you're trying to help me. I appreciate it. I do. But leave me alone. Because he's like, because nothing's going to change. It'll always be the same. He's basically saying, I'm pee-whipped. I know my girl's cheating on me and shit. I don't care. Because I like getting laid too.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. I mean, not something I would be down for, but hey, I respect the honesty. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, it's to be respected.
Yeah, I respect the honesty about it. He's saying, hey, I know it's effed up, but this is what I'm going to do. Well, okay, bro. kind of like somebody brought up the gaming gang dude the other day, and I said, and I will say again, I would have a lot more respect for that dude if he had actually named names and been more like aggressive and masculine with his disagreement with diversity and dragons.
Yeah.
But the fact that he tried to tiptoe around it so much, it made me think that's just bitch made shit, you know? If you got a disagreement with another bro online or wherever, I mean, just come out with it. Just say, I disagree. The worst that's going to happen between YouTubers is the other guy's going to say, well, you're an idiot. And then, okay. And then everybody goes back to their little bubble and it's fine. Yeah. But because he acted so feminine, it made me not respect him. Because he's a big dude. He shouldn't be acting that way. It's like, don't be a bitch, guy.
Yeah.
You know, like I've had disagreements with diversity and dragons. And I've told him, no, I don't agree with that shit. And he's been like, all right. And that's it. Me and Bear disagree sometimes. And Bear's like, whatever. And I'm like, whatever. And we move on to being bros. Because, I mean, shit. You ain't going to agree about everything. But don't be a bitch about it. Don't be passive aggressive and sneaky. There's no need for that.
Oops. Oh my God.
Got some ranchero music going on over here.
One of my Latinas sent me something. I used to hang out on this international dating site just for fun because I was like, whatever, I'm bored. Let's meet some women. You know what I mean?
Plus, who knows? You might get a hottie.
Well, I did. Many. It turns out I'm quite popular in Colombia. And I'm quite popular. The reason I'm quite popular, it turns out, is because I don't give a fuck about cars, motorcycles, or being an asshole. Which is apparently what all Colombian men do, is they just fuck the girl and then go hang out with their buddies and work on their cars and motorcycles.
Yeah.
So what happened for me is I made friends with a couple that I've been friends with for years now. So every now and then they send me little videos of like, you know, what's it, bachata or whatever it is, you know, the type of dance they do and stuff like that. So, you know, it's fun.
Yeah, my neighbor across the street's Colombian, and they got a little Yorkie dog.
Oh, yeah.
And my Pomeranian loves it. And so anytime they're out walking, I'll go out there and talk to them. And really good people. But they do spend half the year in Colombia. It's like the house across the street is kind of like their, I don't know if you'd call it a summer house or a winter house. I don't know what the hell, but they do spend a lot of time back and forth in Colombia. But they got a giant ass Haas mango tree in their backyard.
Okay.
And last year when those mangoes went ripe, like every week they were bringing us a grocery bag full of mangoes. So me and my wife, we were just putting mangoes in it, or not mangoes, avocados. So it was like homemade guacamole always in the fridge. You know what I mean? Or guacamole and eggs and freaking Cholula sauce. And, you know, it was like, I mean, it was nice of them. They didn't have to do it, but they're like, hey, you know.
My favorite
I am watching a Japanese anime about a mysterious Brazilian girl trying to solve her mysterious past.
It's one of the things I love about Latina and Latino culture in general, like Central and South American. They eat eggs all over the place, like lunch, breakfast, dinner. They don't give a fuck. Eggs are like, huevo. They're everywhere, and I think that's brilliant. You know, like that's a really cool thing.
Well, for the world, it used to be that eggs were one of the cheapest proteins you could get.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when in doubt,
Jesus Christ!
So when in doubt, throw an egg in it. You know, it's like if you're eating ramen. When in doubt, chuck an egg in it.
I'm doing a carnivore thing, not full, but like 90% carnivore.
Yeah.
So it's boring as fuck. By the way, I don't care what anybody says. The carnivore diet is boring as fuck. Okay, it is like not a flavor festival for your mouth. So I decided I was going to take. Well, I was going to take a bunch of the ground beef I got, and I said, you know what, I'm going to make a meatloaf. And I wanted making a meat cake because the only container I had was a big metal mixing bowl. So I made a meat cake. But when I'm making it, I don't have any pork rinds. I got to pick up pork rinds. I didn't have any as a binder. So my buddy who's a chef's like, dude, just use eggs. I'm like, okay. So I put like 5 eggs in it and bound it all up and all that. And I threw my spices in and some of my hot sauce to give it flavor and whatever. And then I cubed up some cheddar to throw in there to mix it in. So I threw little pockets of cheese throughout and all that. It was lovely. It turned out brilliantly. The eggs are okay as a binder. They're not great. Crushed pork rinds would be better because for some reason they grip it better.
When I used to
Have you tried super glue?
We tried shutting the fuck up. While we're throwing out ideas.
When I used to make matzo ball soup a lot of times, I would use egg to bind the matzo balls. Because I mean, it's basically, for anyone who doesn't understand, matzo ball soup is Jewish chicken and dumplings. That's all it is, or maybe even Polish. But whatever. And yeah, you get your matzahs and you crumble them up until they're like basically breadcrumbs. Yeah. But then you throw some egg in there and some seasoning, and you make them about the size of a ping pong ball. And then when you got your chicken, and I would take a whole chicken, season it, put a little butter in it, boil the shit out of it. And while it's on a boil, you drop the matzo balls. Let it cook another 30 minutes.
Pretty sure there's a lot of carbs in matzah, and I'm pretty sure it's forbidden.
Yeah, it's definitely not carnivore. This is something I used to do 20 years ago. Because I have had Southern chicken and dumplings, and I hate it. It's like, this is a half-cooked biscuit floating around with some chicken and white gravy. I'm like, no, F that. I don't want any part of that.
I like biscuits and gravy. When I was in Michigan for work back in 2018 or 2017, whatever it was, the hotel I stayed at, every morning you go down for breakfast, and they had, cereal, whatever, the whole 9 yards. But they had you had hash browns, eggs, scrambled eggs, and sausage patties. But they also had hot biscuits and white gravy. And I'd never had that. I'm Canadian. It doesn't exist up here, right? It was pretty good.
That's a big staple down here.
So for my birthday, me and my 2 best friends, maybe we're going to bring a 3rd friend with us because he's having a rough time, just buried his mother. We're all going up to Ottawa for the day. And we're going to Popeyes. And Carnivore Diet can kiss my white ass on my birthday because I'm having some fucking Popeyes biscuits. It's just happening. Like, diabetes can kiss my ass that day. Carnivore Diet can kiss my ass that day.
Just take your metformin.
Yep.
And, walk around a little bit, get a little exercise. You'll probably, not die.
Oh, no, I'll be fine.
Well, at least not from the Popeyes.
My feet will swell up, for about 24 hours. And then it'll come back down to normal and everything. It'll just feel shitty for a day. But that's okay because I'll have had Popeyes biscuits and Popeyes chicken strips.
I like their beans and rice side.
I won't touch that. Like rice, just like my blood sugar.
I know, but when I used to eat like
go
to Popeyes, grab the beans and rice.
There's a Haitian dish which you can get in Montreal at all the Haitian restaurants called gyro, and it's basically pork, like a barbecued pork, and then it's in a rice and red bean bed. And it's the most delicious fucking thing you'll ever eat in your life. You get like 4 or 5 big guys together that are hungry, and then they order their griot, and they sit down, and you just like no one's talking for 10 minutes. They're all just like because it's so fucking good.
Across the street from the fire academy I went to, we had a Dominican grocery store that also had like a cafe line in it.
Yeah, like a hot food
like a buffet line.
Yeah.
And we would go over there, man, and get rice and beans. And sometimes I'd get like pork feet and freaking plantain and actual chicharron or whatever, which is just square little pieces of fatty pork deep fried. Yeah. And it would be like, they would fill this container up. Like when they handed it to you, you'd be like, oof. And then they'd be like, that'll be $5.30.
Yeah, no,
I want a drink too. Oh, okay, now it's $6.10 or so.
No,
every day is like
going to ethnic places because they will give you a shit ton of food and be like, yeah, $7, $8, here you go. And it's like, it's like $15 worth of food they're giving you. The only ones who don't do that are the Chinese. Because, they're frugal. The Chinese, they're very frugal people.
It's a nice way to put it.
We don't have Popeyes in Quebec, so we have to go to Ontario to get Popeyes.
I love that. There's a comedian, and I think he's Indian. I think he's a Canadian.
Russell Peters.
And he does the whole skit about his Indian father versus the Chinese.
Well, he talks about going into the Chinese and the guys like
because they're both super cheap.
Yeah. Well, this is so. I told you I was with an Indian girl for many years, and she said the most embarrassing thing that ever happened was when her uncles came over, and they went to Walmart, and one of
they tried to haggle.
Yeah, he literally. There's an Indian girl at the cash. Here comes Uncle with whatever the item is. It says $18, and he's like, "Okay, how much is price?" And she's like, $18, sir. He's like, "No. I know it says on ticket 18, but what is price for me? Come on." Like, $18, sir. She was just like, "Oh, this is so fucking embarrassing." Yep.
Well, I mean, in the old days, and even in some parts of the world right now, I mean, haggling is the expectation.
Yep.
Everybody knows
when it is.
It is just how it is.
It's one of two things: either haggle or do what the Australians do. Put the sales tax in the fucking price.
Yeah, it's something I wish they would do
here. And it says $6.73. I know I'm paying $6.73 at the fucking cash.
Yeah, and at first I didn't exactly understand what you're saying, but now, yeah, because if something is $1.53, it should be $1.53.
Right.
You shouldn't walk up to the register and then all of a sudden they're like, "Well, we've got 7% sales tax," and now all of a sudden it's like,
yeah. In most provinces, we're paying 13 to 15% sales tax on everything.
Ooh.
I think Florida's.
Oh yeah, no. By the way, whenever you hear some dumb fucking socialist in your country talking about Canada as some sort of fucking paradise, send them to me.
We're 6.5, I think.
They'll become real fucking capitalists when I explain our tax rates. They'll be like, "Well, no." Like, I've never seen
when you talk to people like in Europe, and they're like, "We have free medical care," and it's like, "No, you don't.
No, we don't have it in Canada. We don't have free.
You pay 40% in taxes a year."
Yeah,
and then they just want to kill you.
And then well, that's Canada, but in a lot of countries, not that I'm, whatever, but it's like you pay 40% taxes a year, and then you got to wait in line because they let people in.
Sweden fixed this.
It's like
Sweden basically was having the same problem. They were having the waiting lines, the waiting lists. People were dying on waiting lists. The people were about to fucking revolt in Sweden, and they went, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. Since we allow private clinics, you have the right after 90 days on the waiting list to go to the private clinic and get this procedure done, and the government will pay for it 100%. And within a year and a half,
brilliant, actually.
Within a year and a half, their fucking healthcare system was completely revitalized. It's one of the top in the world now because the public option had to compete to get money from the government. Because they don't just go, "Here's all your money every year." No, the last year before, they submit all of their paperwork or their last quarter or whatever it is. This is how much we did in surgeries. This is how much we did in this and this and this. Now give us our fucking money. And then that's their budget for the next quarter, right? So when they're suddenly losing all their patients to the private clinics because they can't get their shit together, suddenly they get their shit together. It's amazing how capitalism, when done right and isn't corporatism, which we know there is a difference, actually improves everything. Now, you got to put rules in place because capitalists are pricks and they'll try and feed you fucking, pig bone and call it Jello. Like that's how they are. You got to put little rules in place.
Yeah, that's another thing some people here are complaining about because
RFK's on
Bobby's trying to get rid of all these things that are incredibly horrible. And people are like, "You want to get rid of red dye just because it causes cancer?"
But that's the thing. They're not. They're. You want to get rid of these things, and we disagree because you're friends with Trump, and Trump bad. It's insane.
I think policies they championed a few years ago, they've done a complete 180 on just because it's coming from the wrong mouth.
if Trump
Completely
went on TV
disgusting.
and said that oxygen
Breathing is good.
was bad, these
I
people
want
would
you-
hold their breath.
No, I want you to know, breathing
Oh, nice.
is the best thing you can do. It's very good for you. Take multiple deep breaths a day. Fucking lefties would be falling around blue-faced. Just
Okay, Ferrum 30, you're not going to get too far with me now. I don't think my bros here care so much about that particular line of whatever. I do, and yeah, you're not going to find a agreeable ear with that.
Oh,
Russia
it's
has not ever expanded west.
the whole issue with Ukraine was
they have
NATO
never
fucking with them, and it was land that was theirs for the longest time, and ethnic Russians were being butchered there.
being murdered by the Azov guys.
They do not have the capacity to invade Western Europe. It is not even in the realm
It's so
of
funny
possibility.
when people are like, if they take Ukraine, they'll go for Poland. Like, are you crazy? Poland has
figured their
spent
shit
like
out.
$100 billion so far in the last couple of years buying the most high-tech shit we make. Poland could probably whip the shit out of all the rest of Europe combined right now. You know, like Russia is not invading Poland. Poland owning like, 500 HIMARS and shit. I mean, that's just incredible. That's insane. As a matter of fact, we'll see, because after Russia, since they've made so many breakthroughs recently, after they completely liberate all of Luhansk and Donbass region, my thoughts are they're going to stop. And they're going to sue for peace and be like, look, you can keep all that shit over here, but all these ethnic Russians that you were murdering for 8 years, they're not good. I mean, because those regions want to be independent states. So that's what's going on. And yes, Russia, they're actually the liberators, but people in the West are too stupid to understand this because, well, it's not stupidity, it's ignorance, because they never hear the actual news. So they just think Russians bad. You know, because the Cold War, Soviets bad. I watched Red Dawn. Russians
but
bad.
hang on. It's not just that. It's also the Brzezinski, Clinton, Obama club have had a hard-on for Russia forever. And that's why, it's Russian interference in the elections. It's Russian this. Could it be the Cold War again? Because Russia was the best boogeyman ever.
Yeah, we could convince people to just sign away all their rights. No problem. All we had to do is like shake the ghost of the Soviet Union at them.
Yeah.
And but seriously though, other than a few, what we call when we do it, police actions, like in Georgia and Azerbaijan or wherever, and now this special military operation, as they call it, Russia has literally never been aggressive to anyone since the fall of the Soviet Union. It has 100% been, I hate to say it, us. NATO paid for a coup, got rid of a Russian-friendly president of Ukraine, replaced him with a 32-year-old Jewish actor, and all hell broke loose. So who do you blame? Us.
Yeah. And Kamala Harris going there and talking about bringing Ukraine into NATO was the exact equivalent of the Cuban Missile Crisis as far as the Russians
except
went.
reverse.
Yeah, reverse. We didn't put up with that bullshit, and they weren't going to put up with that bullshit, and they knew that. They wanted trouble there.
Poor Ukraine, our little pet Ukraine.
The most corrupt country in Europe.
Oh, we must all put blue and yellow on our profiles for Ukraine, and Ukraine this and Ukraine that. Fuck Ukraine. They started
like houses in Canada are $5 million for a piece of shit house.
I give a fuck about the Ukraine right now.
About Ukraine?
Yeah, I'd rather worry about how my country's
$16
shit
for
becoming a failed fucking
I don't
state.
give a shit about Ukraine.
And neither do I. I know Ukrainians; they're wonderful people. I love.
They
the
are
Ukrainian
wonderful
friends
people. I love them.
But I don't give a fuck about this. They started this shit. They picked this fight, and then when they got their fucking nose good and bloodied, they went crying to the bigger guy and went, the bully's beating me up. And the dumbasses in the West went, okay, here's money.
Well, not only that, but the dumbasses in the West Wing got calls from the actual evil people that, like at, the weapons companies. And they're like, yeah, man, let's get in on this. Because, buy stock. in Radian because we're getting ready to sell a shit ton of missiles, right?
Yeah, Raytheon, yeah.
And then all of the corrupt politicians were like, okay, and they all got their stock, and that's how a bartender from New York can be in Congress and now has got a net worth of $17 million. And the other
She is
thing I
so
want to point out,
fucking stupid too.
yeah,
Every
Unbelievably
time I
so.
see her talk, I'm like, how the fuck? And she's not that good looking. How
she's
the
got a nice rack though. But here in a
Doesn't
little
matter.
bit, when she gets a little older and she blows up, that'll be the end of her. Because
Oh my gosh.
we know how those Puerto Rican girls do. When they hit about 40, boy.
And
Boom.
when they go on about a dangerous expansionist country and whine about Russia while doing nothing but running cover for China in the media, you can see how full of shit these people really
Yeah, the
are.
Chinese are literally committing an actual real genocide.
And by the way, NATO was supposed to dissolve
Mhm.
and didn't. Instead, it expanded.
Mhm.
So don't act like NATO's some great fucking like noblesse oblige of the West. It's not.
And like
NATO
every
would've-
president since NATO formed promised that his counterpart in Russia, they wouldn't move east.
Yep.
Like every time they signed so many treaties, we won't
Yep.
move past East Germany. Okay, we're going to take the Czech Republic. Okay, now even the Baltic states are in NATO. They're wanting Romania to be in NATO, or it is. It's like, yeah,
I think
whatever,
the rule should be, and this is what I honestly feel: to be in NATO, you must have a coast on the North Atlantic. If you do not have a coast on the North Atlantic, you cannot be in NATO. So Turkey, get the fuck out. Greece, get the fuck out. You know, like, sorry, out. Make your own
Those
thing.
two are funny because they're both in NATO and yet they're each other's arch nemesis.
Yes, exactly.
They hate each other.
I know.
They're constantly skirmishing back and forth, and they're both in NATO. So it's like,
And Turkey's constantly flirting with becoming an Islamic state.
well,
It is.
under Erdogan, yeah.
Well, I mean, officially.
Yeah, he's not been really great about the
Yeah, that we
secular
should in
Republic.
no way be allies with these people. We shouldn't be in NATO at all. Western Europe can pay for their own damn defense. We footed the bill long enough. They're
Yeah,
in
we
no
got our
danger.
birds that will
The
protect,
Soviet Union
but
is gone. Russia is not even remotely equivalent to the Soviet Union. That is
no,
over. It
that's
is a
another thing.
non-threat.
It's like Russia might be dangerous if it gets into an attritional war with a neighbor where it can actually use trucks and donkeys to move logistics. But to actually invade somewhere far away, they don't have that kind of logistical capability. They just couldn't do it. I mean, their Navy is a freaking joke. And if you ain't got a really, really good Navy, you are not projecting power anywhere. At best, Russia is a regional power. That's it. As a matter of fact, right now, there's only one world power, and it's still the U.S. I mean, they keep saying China will be, but all China has more ships than us, but then look at total tonnage of naval vessels. And we're like 3 times. This.
And they have the disadvantage of all their shit being made in China.
I've said that many a time. Never
Their
forget.
carrier actually used to be the Russian Kirov. And China bought it and stripped it out and like tried to make it better, but
China did.
the great China.
Listen, just remember, China is here, Mr. Burton.
Yeah. It's like, shut up, West Taiwan.
What does that mean? China is here.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
I hope they don't remake that. They keep threatening to.
No, the Rock's lost all of his sway in Hollywood, so no worries. He's the guy with the rights, and no one wants to make movies with him anymore.
The one thing I wouldn't mind seeing is if they did the original script, because it was a Western originally. If somebody did that version of it, that would be kind of cool.
What I would like to see, if they could, as much as possible, I know they can't get some people, I would rather see a sequel with as many of the original people as possible.
Well, one guy just died. One of the storms.
Right. So, I mean, but like, okay.
I think Lopan
Pat
is
Burton and
dead.
the Pork Chop Express are
No, he's still alive, dude.
Oh,
They
is
got
he?
David Lopan. He's still alive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good
I
for
remember
him.
James Hong. I looked him up like a 3-4 months ago, unless he died in the last 3-4 months.
But
guy's still
anyway,
kicking around.
you know what I'm saying, though, right? It's like Jack Burton's in the Pork Chop Express, whipping ass down the stormy highway, and that thick Chinese demon is in the back there, right? I want to know what happens.
There's actually a comic book that was authorized by John Carpenter that gets into that. It winds up being his friend.
They become
Really?
buddies. Yeah.
So,
Like it's like a pet.
so then it's more like that Clint Eastwood movie when he's like right
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
big freaking Chinese demon or something, right? Man, that movie is so quotable, like every part of it. It will come out no more.
What?
Will come out no
I
more.
don't want to know.
Black blood of the earth. Well, you mean
Oh,
oil?
oil?
I mean
No,
black
I mean
blood
black
of
blood
the earth.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite quotes in the whole movie. When Egg is like, black blood of the earth. You mean oil? No. Black blood of the earth. It's like, ugh, this is some crazy shit. Awesome. I mean, last night, of course, I had to watch In the Mouth of Madness again for like the 5th time.
I want to see that. I keep hearing cool things about that movie.
Yeah, it must be pretty good in my opinion since I keep watching it.
In the Mouth of Madness, you've never seen it, Doc?
No, never caught that.
Good movie.
Yeah, I think you can sometimes find it on Roku or Tubi or something for free with commercials. I own it, so it's easy for me. I can just put it on. But another movie I've watched quite a bit lately, I've watched in the last month Event Horizon like 4 times.
I saw that recently. So we watched that on a movie night one night. That was really good. Oh, and I bought it on YouTube forever ago. I finally watched Death of Stalin. That movie is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I've got that on my list. Yeah, Death of Stalin.
Amazing.
The look on your fucking face.
But
he starts talking about turning him in, and he just starts laughing.
Okay? So the evil doctor in Event Horizon is the main character in the Mouth of
Sam
Madness.
Neill.
Yeah, and it's all about he's an insurance fraud investigator who has to find an author of horror books who has went missing, and if he don't, he has to and it's serious because they got Charlton Heston to hire him to do it, right? But he's not Charlton Heston, but Charlton Heston's in the movie, right? So it's some serious shit, and they're talking about we could lose millions and blah blah blah. And then you need to watch it because I don't want to say anything else. Also, a very young Anakin Skywalker's in the movie.
On a bicycle.
Yeah, and by that I mean grown-up Anakin with stop, I have the high ground.
Christian Haydenson.
Yeah, salt.
He was actually good. Did you ever
saying
see
this every
Breaking
day.
Glass? Or not? Was it Breaking Glass? Or I think of that Hazel O'Connor movie. Or it might have been Shattered Glass, about the guy who was I forget what he wrote for. It was a true story. It's about that he wrote for The Nation, I think, and was like this hugely acclaimed like journalist. It turned out he faked every single story he ever wrote. He just like made the shit up.
Wow.
And did it for like 15 years, and then got caught, and eventually they figured out everything was bullshit.
Why am I not at all surprised by the premise of this story at all? It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Checks out. It checks out. But anyway, yep. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And you'll like it, I think. But yeah, it's one of those movies that it's very weird, but it's really good. And pay attention because there's a lot of shit going on.
But again, James, immediately post haste, watch The Death of Stalin.
Yeah, I've got it on the list. But you know what?
Bump it to the top of the list.
It's a great movie.
See, I need to watch that when I know I'm not going to fall asleep. See, I can put Event Horizon on, and if I fall asleep 15 minutes into it, I don't care because
if you're not watching it in bed, if you're like sitting on the couch or something, you won't fall asleep because it's that fucking engaging.
Well, maybe that's something the wife and I will do.
Oh, the wife will love it. The wife will love it.
Because we do occasionally do the whole movie night thing where we, she cooks us a nice steak or something, and we sit down and watch. I mean, it used to be alone, but unfortunately, or fortunately, the Newfie won, and there's not another season.
Mm.
That dude lived in the Arctic, 120 miles north of the Arctic Circle in Saskatchewan for 83 days with zero anything except what he carried in. I mean, towards the end, he was ice fishing with a homemade freaking hook that it's a special kind of hook that the pike eats it, and then it turns sideways and gets jammed up in its gullet. And this guy's out there like with an axe chopping a hole through the ice and basically living on boiled pike. And, you know, and the fact that by the time he won, the sun wasn't breaking the horizon anymore, you know, which I've seen that, you know, in Alaska. It's like, it's not that it gets, well, where I was, it's not that it actually is dark for 6 months, but there's like however many months where the sun comes up just under the horizon and then it stays there and then it goes down. So it's kind of like it's pitch black. Now it's kind of like dusk and now it's pitch black again. So yeah, I was at a venue. They were showing Big Trouble and a blind guy came in and sat beside me. I ended up relating the action to him. That is so nice of you, Coco. I mean, isn't it though? I mean, the blind guy can hear stuff, but he can't actually. So having a guy there being like, oh man, this dude just come out of the sky riding a lightning bolt. And he looks like a newsreader from Korea. Because he was, you know. The one guy with the long hair, he was literally a newsreader from South Korea. And the big dude who's been in a ton of movies, Asian movies, speaks no English.
No, they taught him how to say everything. They taught him how to pronounce.
Yeah, so when he says, I can help you.
That's why if you pay attention, his inflection is all wrong in his sentences.
Yeah. I always say he is the Chinese Arnold Schwarzenegger. He kind of looks like if Arnold Schwarzenegger had been born in Manchuria, he would look like that guy, you know. And he's been in a couple of Jackie Chan movies, I think.
Yep.
Kung Fu movies and shit like that, you know.
My favorite parts of Jackie Chan movies are the credits when they show you all the crazy fucked up shit that happened when they're making the movie.
And shit. He jumps from one place to another and then he rolls and then he's like, I think my foot's broke.
Yeah, Trouble in the Bronx. He's got like in a cast for almost the entire movie. They painted it to look like a sneaker.
Yeah,
in Armor of God, he does the jump from the wall to the tree and falls, and you see it in the outtakes. And what happened was he cracked his skull and lodged a piece of his skull in his brain. They took him in for surgery. They took out the fucking piece and said, okay, you need to like relax for a month. And like 2 days later, he was back on set, did the stunt again. You know?
Hardcore?
Yeah. Well, hardcore, no. So there was a film shot here in the West Edmonton Mall. And it was a Hong Kong film. And there's a tree in the West Edmonton Mall. It used to be that it's quite large. So the stunt coordinator comes over and he's like, sends one of the Chinese stunt guys up the tree. They roll cameras. Guy drops out of the tree, lands flat on his back, 20 feet, man. Bam. Gets up. Director's like, hiya. And the guy's like, no. He's like, hiya. And he's like, no. And so the guy goes, okay, you. And then looks, who goes? And then the guy's like, I go. And then they run. They threw some coats on the floor for him. He goes 25 feet up and does the drop. Like, that's their mentality, you know? Like, you can't. They're going to do it. Someone will be willing to take that job. You know what I mean?
That's a good thing when you've got, you know.
Well, my buddy was a stunt coordinator. He went to the Asian stunt coordinator who spoke English. And he's like, what the fuck, dude? He goes, like, you're going to kill one of these guys. And the Hong Kong stunt coordinator, Chinese guy, looked at him and said, so what? There's a million more and they all look alike.
That's what I'm saying. You know, life is cheap. So just make it happen. My wife's listening to Dolly Parton singing Jolene.
Jolene.
I love that song.
I have a song for Beans that is to that tune, which is "Oh Beans, oh Beans, I'm begging you, please don't bite my hand."
Yeah, she kind of had me feeling away the other night because she was watching a lot of Christian Aguilera.
Oh
So I
yeah.
went in my bedroom and put on old school Whitney Houston.
Oh nice.
And she come in and I was like, this is what actual singing sounds like. I said, I don't know what the hell that is, but it's not singing. I don't like it. And I was like, and look how classy Whitney Houston looks in that dress. And plus, when she hits the second high note in I'll Always Love You,
Yeah.
you know, and she really nails it, you know, and you're just like, it's too bad she got on crack, but Whitney was just a treasure, a national treasure.
Let's not say it as too bad she got on crack. Let's say too bad she got on Bobby Brown, who then got her into crack.
Yeah, yeah. But I would say she's a national treasure.
She was an
Absolutely.
amazing talent, without a doubt.
And apparently my wife then, who is a genius, as I always tell people, and like literally that's provably true. She could absolutely join like Mensa or whatever. She told me, which I didn't know, and it's true though, that song "I Will Always Love You," Dolly Parton had wrote in the 60s to Wagner.
Yeah.
Because they had a 5-year contract, and when the contract came up, Dolly wanted to go do her own thing because she's always been, you know, independent and had a really good head for business, right? But she was making the money. So the Wagner guy who had the Wagner show, you know, and all that, he was like, no, I don't want you to leave. And she's like, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. And they got into a big fit about it. And she went home and wrote that song and came back and sang it to him. And that's how and he was mad for a while, but then they made up. And then when he ended up passing away, the only people that were allowed at his bedside was his immediate family and Dolly Parton. Also, somehow amazingly, Dolly Parton is the highest rate, or Dolly World or whatever in Tennessee is the highest rated amusement park this year.
God bless Dollywood.
Yeah, I mean, you know. I was in Gatlinburg, but I didn't go to Dollywood. But you know, my sister-in-law and all of them did. They said they loved it. You know, whatever. I wanted to get out of Gatlinburg because I just hated everything about it. But I have that thing. Like when we went to Bloomington, Illinois, it took me 2 days to realize I hated everything there. I was just like, I don't like this place. But then my wife tricked me. She told me we were heading back to Florida. And I fell asleep in the car. And when we crossed into Kentucky, instead of heading south, she head east. And then I wake up right as we're getting ready to pull up off the main road up the mountainside. And I'm like, Moms, you're the best wife ever. She's like, happy birthday. I wanted to surprise you. It wasn't even my birthday, but it was a surprise. And I got to hang out with my mom, which I looked around and you know what? I loved every part of it, except for all the signs on the bridge over the Cumberland River that said, people care about you, don't jump. Because I'm sitting here thinking, those weren't there the last time we came up. So exactly WTF is going on around here? You know what I mean? I mean, is it becoming a common thing for people to jump off that bridge? Because if you do, you will unalive yourself for sure, because it's a good 100+ feet drop from the bridge to the water, and the water is on average about 400 feet deep. So
people who do survive jumping off bridges like that usually regret it dearly because you get messed up.
Well, most of them wind up in wheelchairs.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit terminal velocity, then water is like hitting concrete. Pretty much that first,
and that's why you need Hong Kong stunt guys.
Yeah, because they're like whatever.
A guy, one of the black hats when I was in the army was actually explaining something that it's like if you ever had to jump really high into water, he said the thing to do is take off your t-shirt, like wrap it around your wrists so you're like holding it from the bottom and it's secure. Hold it straight above your head. Point your toes when you jump because it'll act as a drag chute and make you perfectly straight when you hit the water. You said that's your best chance to survive.
Hey, what's up, William Sova? Привет. Yeah, I never got to go airborne. I was in the Army in that time when they were basically, if you wanted to go airborne, you had to be going through RIP or a woman, because that was when the Army decided they wanted as many females to go through airborne school as possible. So, like, unless you were a ranger, an officer, or a female, you were not getting an airborne school.
So, according to this post I just saw on Facebook, the new normal expected by servers in the US is a 30% tip. So, their mentality is take the total, move the decimal point over by 1, and then times that result by 3. So, that's effectively 30%.
Yeah, I don't know. I consider myself a very generous tipper because my mom had worked as a waitress. But I think I pretty much, unless it's amazing service and we're at a really, whatever, they're going to get 20.
Yeah, that's basically what I usually do.
And really, the expectation is 15. So we live in an era where at least one part of the House voted 100% to pass the no tax on tips thing. Because no one wanted to be the dick that was like, I think taxes should be, taken out tip. And yet they're trying to increase the tax by double, or the tip by double. I mean, everyone knows 15%. And make certain the water isn't still. Well, because that could mean it's really shallow and you're just getting ready to go through a little bit of water and freaking crush into the rocks beneath, I guess. I don't know. I never knew any black hats. I never got to go to jump school. The only thing my ass jumped out of was the back of a M2A1, and whatever. It is what it is.
When I went through basic, they were sending almost everybody to airborne, especially for some reason the 88 mics, the freaking truck drivers. Like, why on earth would they ever need to do that?
Who knows?
It just seemed
the Army was
absolutely
weird
bizarre
back then. You know what I mean?
And they don't even really do that anymore. They did it once during the last Gulf War, and they did it specifically just to have done it. But it's all air assault now.
Yeah, I think the Rangers did a jump in Iraq with their Humvees because that's like the biggest thing they got. And it's like, okay, that's cool. William Sova, I was just guessing about the Stillwater. I don't know. Hey, Lee, what is up? I've been watching a guy talking shit. I told you about it. It makes me want to nickname you Beans on Toast, but I won't do that. And besides that, it turns out I like beans on toast. I tried it and I was like, it ain't bad. It's basically baked beans on toast. What's to hate about that? Nothing. It's pretty good. But anyway, that's sidetracking. I have finished painting mostly. I need to paint boots and shoes. All of my necromorphs.
Creepy.
Yeah, from like I forget the video game, but this is a slasher. The one where they send the freaking engineer to figure out what went wrong with the ship, and then he gets jumped by these. Like this guy right here, this is a leaper. And I did them all in like different colors too, like slightly different colors. And it'll be done after I spatter blood all over it.
That's from they're from what the hell was the name?
Dead Space, I think.
Dead Space, yeah.
Yeah. Old guard needs to wear lots of bling. Air assault, airborne, sniper, etc. Easy to get into. See, yeah. The war is over, James. We can eat proper food now. Yeah, but one of my favorite people on the whole world, all he ever has for lunch, according to him, is beans on toast and a cup of tea. So, I mean, I tried it. Like I said, I took a piece of white bread and toasted it, and I put some baked beans on it, and I ate it, and I was like, yeah, but I like baked beans with, for me, that's a staple. Barbecue, you're getting baked beans. You know what I mean? It goes with everything, in my opinion. You roast a chicken, baked beans. You know. So anyway, yeah. No, war food, and I learned this from Monty Python, was spam. You remember that skit? We have spam and eggs, egg and spam, spam and spam. You know,
Spam,
and,
spam,
just,
baked beans, and spam.
and then they start singing, spam, oh beautiful spam, spam, oh beautiful spam. You know, when you hear it about it for the first time as a non-British person, you're like, why the F would you ever put beans on toast, right? But now I'm sitting here thinking, how many bowls of soup beans have I eaten in my life where I actually put a slab of cornbread in the bowl and then covered it with the soup beans? Probably 1 million. I don't know. A lot, right? So beans on toast isn't as weird as people think, because in the South, we eat pinto beans on cornbread. Right? I mean, my bro Doc wouldn't know because he's a Yankee originally, but
Yeah, I did do a lot of beans. Never really did.
oh, well, we were super poor. So, you know, a big bag of dried pinto beans, and you could eat off of that for like 6 months. Hawaiians love spam. We have a Hawaiian restaurant nearby, and they have like spam sushi and spam poke bowl. And I mean, it's like anything that normally would have some kind of meat in it. These guys have the option for spam. And it's just like, okay.
I want to show you something. I want to show you something. Look.
Let's see.
This is what's happening behind my computer.
Oh, look at the sweeties.
One's on my hoodie. The other one's on a power supply.
Yeah.
It's made of war.
Just hanging out. Beans by toast is better, much less soggy. I mean, you know, it was just kind of, you guys know my streams a lot of time are just pure stream of consciousness. And so that's how that came up, Lee. I mean, I'm aware that there's a lot of actual British food that's good.
Stay away from anything calling itself pudding.
Oh, dear God, that's disgusting.
I like black pudding. My grandma, when we slaughtered a pig, would collect the blood and season it and fry it on the flat top. It was basically like blood pancakes. It's pretty good, you know. No. But we ate all the organs and stuff too. Like basically no part of it. We pretty much ate that thing from the tail to the squeaker. You know what I'm saying?
So you know where the word barbecue comes from?
No.
It's a French word. I know. French. Barbe à cul. Beard to ass. That's true. You put the skewer through the pig from its beard and out its ass, and you cook it over the fire. Barbe à cul, which in English becomes barbecue.
Jeff, I didn't know you was a brother, man.
Black-eyed peas.
That's right. My next door neighbor, the ex-army guy that's married to the German lady, he's a black dude, and like a couple times a year, he has her bring me over a big mess of black-eyed peas and collards with ham in it. Now, my issue, and I talked to him about it, I'm not going to say his name, but he and I get along like peas and carrots, is he oversalts that shit. And I've had to tell him, I'm like, look, bro, your demographic is already highly, highly likely to have like blood pressure issues and cardiac issues. You might want to take that salt down a little bit.
You know, they've actually, there's new studies that are showing that salt thing is bullshit.
Really?
Yeah, you know how they spent all that time telling us fat was bad for us, and now we find out fat's actually a fucking vital component of taking a normal shit when you go to the bathroom, right? And I have 4 older sisters who, through the 80s, didn't eat fat and all shit like rabbits. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, now they're finding out that the sodium thing may be a little bit out of fucking whack too, and that it's a lot. The number of the impactful amount of sodium is a lot higher than they estimated. Like they load how much you should have, and they're finding out that no. And there's like cardiologists sounding off on this now and stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that whole food pyramid
Well,
was an
remember
utter load
back
of
in
shit.
the day when they said eggs weren't good for you?
Oh no.
They
No.
vacillate
No.
like every day.
Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are great for you. Don't eat eggs. You should absolutely eat eggs. How many glasses of water should I have a day? Should I drink milk? I don't fucking know anymore.
The Pellis brother in Georgia. There you go. I don't know. I think my brother is definitely the Pellis brother in Tennessee. Because that dude slept with so many black chicks. He's got his free card. He's got the in pass.
Well, I will tell him the exact same thing I tell white night riders, basically, which is just because black guys nutting you doesn't make you black.
Yeah, but what if you
That
nut
in
a
mind.
bunch of black chicks
Huh?
and they call you daddy? And then you got baby mama. Plus you've been to jail. I mean, yeah, that's basically, you fit right in the hood, right? Like, been in jail, got some black baby mamas,
No.
doing some shady shit.
No.
Well, that's what my brother did when he's young. I mean,
I
so
know.
culturally, he was right in there. He was culturally an albino hood rat. Me, on the other hand, I was a good boy. I was in the army, killing Muslims. Honestly, I think he might have been a gooder boy. Because, I mean, he was just creating life, and I was just taking life. Safer to not eat or drink. I like rice pudding. I like bread pudding. I don't understand. I mean, my grandma used to make bread. She'd take, like, old bread and soak it in, like, fresh cream from our cow, and she would put, like, raisins and currants and whatever, kind of fruity, dried stuff we had, and a little brown sugar or whatever, and she'd bake it, and it would be this kind of soft, kind of, gelatinous kind of bread, creamy thing. And yeah, as a treat, as a real treat growing up. And I never had rice pudding until I was much older, but it's fine. But yeah, black pudding, we didn't even throw away the blood of the pig. Now, granted, guys, I'm talking when I was like very, very young, before I started living a kosher life. Because after I went kosher, there was no blood, there was no pig, there was no catfish, no crustaceans, none of that shit. It was all gone. I was serious. But so if I went to Britain, I'd be safe with the fish and chips all day long, Of course, I think the most popular food in Britain right now is like chicken tikka masala.
Or kebab.
Or a kebab, yeah.
Or a vindaloo.
I prefer the evidence. Take an elder and ask him what he ate. Okay. And that's, yeah. I mean, my grandma lived her whole life basically on cornbreads and pinto beans, and she lived to be about 100. And she worked her ass off pretty much right up until the last week she was alive. It was like when her body finally said, yeah, you're dying. That's when she rested. And then she died. And I mean, yeah, I love her. But I like to think she's in a better place. Plus, she was like 99 years old. So it's like, it's hard to be surprised when like someone is 99 and they pass away. Especially if they didn't pass away from something terrible, like being, stabbed to death or something. They just went to sleep and died. It's like, whew, we should all be so lucky, right? Or as my Jewish grandmother would say, from your mouth to God's ears. But anyway, a pina colada if you're drinking. Yeah, man. I mean, sugar is now, Bear said what he had to say about salt, and I will not disagree because I have no evidence to counter his statement. However, I will stand on this. I know this is a fact. Cane sugar, especially heavily processed cane sugar, is literally poison.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. They're starting to think now the majority of dementia is caused by sugar.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
They're like
Starting
little
to
freaking, There's little fucking Chinese throwing stars in your brain when they go through the blood vessels, just tearing the shit out
Well,
of
that's
everything.
why
They're
heavy
referring
diet.
to. They think dementia is effectively
Yeah,
diabetes in the
type
brain.
of diabetes.
Yeah, it's like this new type.
And it
they've
makes
discovered.
sense. And if you're diabetic and you said like your feet swell up, that's because if you're not watching your sugar, the sugar molecules, which are like little sand spurs or shuriken, they destroy the valves in your veins and artery. And then that way your blood's pumping, but now there's no backflow valve.
No.
So fluid will start settling. It always goes to the lowest point of gravity, right? So when you see these people walking around and their calves are that big and they got to wear construction stuff or constriction socks or whatever, it's because the veins and everything in them, and also probably a little bit of cardiac issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And teeth.
Definitely
When they go back, they look at like skeletons from before like 1600 when they started importing sugar into Europe. People had like, even going back to the Stone Age, people had solid teeth. And then as soon as they started introducing sugar into the diet, that's when everybody's teeth went to freaking hell.
Jeff, you're 100% correct. And Daryl, you're also correct, 100%. Except there are some things that even in moderation you shouldn't do. And I think eating sugar is one of them. Even in moderation, don't eat sugar.
Don't smoke crack, even in moderation.
Even in moderation, don't chuck any kids into a fiery idol.
What about light crack?
Don't do that,
Yeah.
even in moderation.
Even in moderation, do not smoke crystal.
Oh, fucking bulls. Not even in moderation.
Yeah, in moderation, avoid the bestiality.
Yeah.
Even in moderation.
Running through South Central, yelling the N-word at the top of your lungs, even in moderation. That's a good idea.
I don't know. In Family Guy, he ran
I
into
know.
the king.
They respected me for saying that.
Well, it depends.
Honey is good. Honey has lots of vitamin, like pure honey. What you have
Yeah,
to be
you gotta get
careful of,
real honey.
you
and
have to be
then
careful is when
that's
you go to
what
the
works.
grocery store and you're buying honey, read the fucking label.
Yep.
Because sometimes they put high fructose corn syrup in it.
Yeah, they got just enough honey in there to give it a color and a bit of a taste. No.
Yeah. You really, really
You wanna
dying,
get
even
local
in
honey.
moderation, dying, suicide in even in moderation, suicide is a bad idea.
Murder in moderation's right out. 10 Commandments say that.
Yeah, that's right out, right.
That's right out.
Committing adultery, even in moderation, not a good idea.
That's right out.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you take the entire Bible and you boil it down, it's basically the 10 Commandments. And I'm pretty sure the Messiah even said that. You know, these are the 10 things try not to do. And you'll probably be a good dude. You'll be a mensch if you avoid these 10 things. And it's like, you know, and it's really easy shit. Don't run around murdering innocent people. Don't worship false gods. Don't steal shit. Don't bang your neighbor's wife.
Yeah, don't bang your neighbor's wife. Don't want his stuff.
Don't
accuse
steal.
people
Don't tell lies.
Well, it's not don't tell lies. It's don't bear false witness.
Right.
Which means don't testify against someone wrongly.
Yes, you are doing it right, Daryl, because local sourced honey will actually, if you have allergies, it will actually help with it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a vaccine. You know, you're eating that honey and it has all that pollen in it, and your body's like, oh, okay. You know, now my bro, Holy Diver or the Angry Gamer Nerd, part of his health regimen is a tablespoon of honey every day.
Beans does not go on toast.
Beans
He
on
sleeps
toast.
behind my computer. Why would you want to put him on toast?
Beans, yeah, your cat. Well, in China, he would.
No, stop. Just stop.
Hey,
Stop.
Bruce Lee,
Stop.
Enter the Dragon, the animal he is grilling in the graveyard, that's a cat.
Just stop.
And he takes a big bite out of it and he's all angry and shit. You killed my teacher!
Just stop. Oh my god.
That's not racist. It's on
I'm
TV.
not saying it's racist. I don't want to talk about
It's
people eating
just
cats.
awful.
Great.
I'll tell you what, if I'm starving, I don't know. I'd never
Would
eat
you-
my dog, but my neighbors
Yeah,
and
so if you're
cat,
eating my dog, well, you know what? In Korea,
it's called kegogi, boiled dog with salt.
Boshentang. It's the soup.
I
Yeah,
like
but when I was over there, a
the
bunch of the
China
guys
with
tried it.
flavor
I was like,
fruits.
nope,
Nice.
nope,
But
not
it-
even going to consider it.
We're in China. Woo.
I'm gonna barbecue Yuli.
Damn,
Barb.
that really went up a notch.
Yeah, it really jumped up.
Really.
All right, I gotta go because I gotta make my supper, and then at 7:00 I'm gonna start watching movies on my Discord.
Oh yeah, nice, cool. Yeah, at a
I'll be
point,
there.
I gotta do all the vacuuming and mopping and stuff.
Well, there you go. See you guys later. And I'm not leaving because of the cat stuff. It's just
No, you got shit to do. I know you're
I
busy,
got
man.
shit to do.
Take care, Bear. See you later.
Beans and eggs. Well, it depends. I mean, on how your digestion is. I mean, a lot of people talk like that about beans, but I'll be honest with you. I grew up eating pinto beans like twice a day, and I never noticed any of that gas issues. But a trick I have heard is when you're boiling your bean soup, whether it's navy beans, pinto beans, whatever kind of beans you like. I always called navy beans Yankee beans, though, because we don't eat those. But anyway, if you throw a carrot in with the beans when you start to cook them, the carrot, something in the carrot will make it where the beans don't make you gassy. There's like a chemical or something in the carrot. What is the movie today, Doc? Daryl would like to know.
Oh, I don't know. We don't know what he's showing yet. He likes to surprise us.
He should show In the Mouth of Madness. And you could watch it, and then I wouldn't have to be super careful about saying anything. But yeah, beans on a skewer.
Oof.
Oof. Poor beans. But are these things about done? I think they are. I've got these base toppers, so they're very thin, and they're made to just be glued on top of a 25 mil base. And so I printed out like 50 of them, and I'm just using the UV light to straighten them up so that I can put them on the bases and then glue some of my figures on them.
How
So
long
that-
can paint sit fallow before they go bad?
Paint?
Yeah, like the miniatures paint. Because I've got these like last 13 mechs, which I premiered like a year ago. And I just like haven't been able to bring myself up to paint them. And I probably haven't broken the paints open in that long.
Depends on the
even
paint.
Still good.
If it's in a dropper type container like Vallejo, Reaper, etc., you have a better than average chance of, if you shake the hell out of it, you'll be fine. If it's in a flip open container like Citadel, yeah, it's ruined. Forget about it.
Yeah, I think most of mine are screw tops, although I have a bunch of them like thinned out for airbrushing.
Because
like in the
Citadel
shaker.
paints are specifically designed, the container is specifically designed so that the paint will get effed up and you'll have to buy new paint. It's the stupidest shit ever. It's like, why would you put your paint in this and then tell everyone never paint out of the container? So you're supposed to dip your brush in there and put it on the palette and then close this. Also, they flip over. Now all your paint's everywhere in the world. And does it ever really get a proper seal there? You don't know. So your paint, Citadel paints die quick. Then you've got Vallejo this. If you put the
those are
lead
the
on that
ones.
thing correctly,
Yeah, those are the ones I have.
it'll
Mine
last
are
for
army painter,
years.
but they have same tops.
Yeah, it'll last for years, man.
Oh,
The
cool.
worst is the pigment might settle down. And the good thing is Reaper paints generally has a little ball in there.
Yeah, I have
You
like a
just
whole
shake
bag
the
of those
shit out
that you
of
could
it.
just drop in. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
a whole
just give it a
of
good
those.
shake. It'll be fine. Don't name your animals after food. Yeah, that's I mean, we named our pigs Bacon, but then we also turned them into bacon. So
They
that
were
was
warned.
truth in advertising there. And pigs are actually great pets, but the problem is they taste really good too. Now, would our pigs eat you if you got really drunk and passed out in their pen? Probably. Because pigs will do that. They will eat you. If you're helpless, and they will, yeah. I mean, we've shot pig, what we would call the pig over, we're going to slaughter and shoot it in the forehead with 357, and it would hit the ground and all the matter and stuff would start coming out, and the other pigs would run up and start eating it.
Oof.
I mean, animals, man, they got no sense of right and wrong, so you can't even judge them, because it's like, how can you judge something that just literally doesn't know, doesn't have a clue? So, not trying to gross anyone out, but yeah, it be like that sometimes. But smelly expands beans and eggs. Jose sounds like he knows. But Jose, I don't know, man. Maybe you got some IBS or something. You need to,
That's funny about pigs and boar. If you a domestic pig will turn into a boar if it gets loose. It'll grow.
Oh yeah, they go feral.
back. It'll grow its hair. They'll just like completely revert.
They will go feral, and then the state of Kentucky will pay you to go kill them in the national forest, because a domestic Lancashire pig that goes feral has exactly zero fear of a human. And if you're out there and it's like 580 pounds plus, and you could get jacked up. So the state actually paid people to go out and exterminate feral pigs.
Yeah, boars are freaking nasty dangerous. That's why they used to make those special spears for hunting them with the crossbar, because the things would just impale themselves and run up and kill you.
I saw a boar eviscerate a dog one time. Now, the dog lived. Before everyone gets sad, the dog lived. But the dog ran up to grab the pig, as you do when you're pig hunting with dogs. And this was about a 350, maybe 400-pound boar. And this was not a feral pig. This was a straight-up boar. Big-ass tusks, right? And the dog grabbed the pig. The pig flipped its head. It didn't even seem like it did much. It opened that dog's belly from the chest all the way down.
Oh,
its entire insides fell out. So then we had to grab the insides and the dog and wash everything off really good and put the insides back in. And then my mom stitched it closed. And dog lived. It's fine. But I mean, it was literally like that. The pig barely moved. It was like, bam. And it was like somebody took a scalpel. And yeah, that's a good dog. And another time it grabbed a big pig. This pig was thrashing around. The dog got it to the ground. And when we grabbed the pig to throw it into the trailer, because this is how you catch wild pigs live. The dog had broke its jaw in the front and in the side. And this part was just hanging. So we had to take him to the vet to get his jaw wired up. Now, some people might say that's incredibly cruel what you were doing. The dog absolutely loved it. It was the thing this dog lived for. Like you would hook the trailer up to our truck, because we had a big trailer that we threw the hogs in, right? And these dogs would freak out because they'd be like, oh shit, we're going hunting. And for some reason, a 450-pound pig, if a 50-pound dog gets it by the ear, the pig will lay down and just lay there. And then you can run up and grab it by the legs and chuck it in the trailer. And he'll be pissed off, but it don't matter. He's in the trailer now. However, since the dog in question I'm talking about was an American bull dog, American red-nosed pit, in order to get it off of the pig, when you grab the pig, somebody would have to take a wedge made out of oak and jam it into the side of the dog's mouth here. And then once you got it good and in there, turn it and twist it so that the pit bull's jaws would unlock. Because when they bite down, they'll lock their jaws, and yeah, good luck. I mean, it's going to stay on there forever, right? So we actually had to carry specific devices to pop their jaws off. And then we would take all of the live hogs we caught that night to the management of Deseret Ranch, and they would pay us money for the hogs. They'd buy them from us. That's later on in life, you know, when I was cowboy and everything. But yeah, that was a good little dog. 50-pound red-nosed bull terrier. Such a sweetheart.
Okay, I'm gonna sign off myself. I gotta have dinner before we probably pop into movie night. It's good to see you as always, Sir James.
Salute.
I will
Sir
catch you
James.
later, man.
Nice. I'm knighted, according to Doc.
Absolutely, I have that authority.
You have that authority. Well, I accept your authority, my good sir.
You will accept my authority.
I shall refer to, if I'm Sir James, I shall refer to you as Lord Jason.
I work that. That works. That's acceptable.
Right? That's right. Make feudalism great again. I wonder if like maybe the British should come up with double MBA, or no, it would be double MGA, and it would be like make monarchy great again. Like the British are all like, you know, we're just getting rid of the House of Commons and the House of Lords. It's time to go back to feudalism and, you know, giving the king total power. I mean, good if you happen to be a landed member of the landed gentry. But yeah, not that I was going to lie and say I don't like talking shit about other people's countries, but the reality is I absolutely love pointing out shitty stuff about other people's country and my own. So I am equal opportunity there. And I'm starting to wonder if Cromwell's whole, we want to get rid of the power of the monarchy and make, the houses. I'm starting to wonder if that's a good thing. Because it's like America, like nothing. Meghan Markle. I have heard, I don't know if this is true, Prince Harry might be getting a divorce. Anybody to get a divorce, but I have heard that that is a thing. That might be happening. I've seen this. I mean, because Elon Musk is billions of dollars, right? Oh, it says that I'm having connectivity issues. All right, reconnect. What's going on here? Okay, we're back. Siding with millionaires, multimillionaires versus billionaires is like the stupidest shit ever. Because what it really is it's the millionaires trying to distract you from how they got their corrupt millions by pointing at somebody who has billions. And while I am not saying the billionaires aren't corrupt, are they more corrupt than the multimillionaires? No. And from my point of view, where I'm sitting, right, as a blue collar, average, red blooded American, it's like, I mean, if you've got $50 million, you might as well have 50 trillion to me. I mean, what, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's like, what's the difference, That's why Bernie bros piss me off, because they're all like, oh, Bernie, he's out there and he hates the oligarchy and he hates billionaires. And it's like, that dude is like multi-millionaire with 3 mansions. It's like, he's just screaming at you because he thinks you're stupid. And he thinks that you will give him power, even though he's so far above you monetarily that at a point it don't matter. Like, oh, yeah, like Bernie. Yeah, like all of them. All of the politicians complaining about billionaires. Look, once you hit a certain amount of money, whether it's 10 million, 20 million, whatever, it don't matter after that. And when you're a guy who makes 35 grand a year, yeah, get the F out of here. You know, like, I make 35 grand a year, working my ass off, knee deep in blood and guts and poop. And you have $20 million and you're trying to tell me I should hate a billionaire because he's a billionaire? It's like, no, I don't think so. And I'm a hardcore free market capitalist. I really am. I mean, you know, if you get your money honestly by providing a service, I think that's great. But these senators and congressmen that have cheated the system to become multimillionaires, what service did they provide? It seems more like we elected them to serve us, but now we're serving them. So, yeah. Hopefully no one will be like, James hates America. I don't. I love America. But, yeah, something has to change. Going to Congress should not be the fast track to becoming a multimillionaire. And, yeah. And being a multimillionaire and bitching about billionaires is stupid. It's stupid, and anyone who gets taken in by that is probably stupid too. Yeah, I'll look into the guy. I've watched a lot of his debates, Jose. I've watched a lot of his debates, but I'm not saying that I agree with him, because I don't think I do. I don't think I agree with him. But whatever. Right now, the person I agree with most is probably Thomas Jefferson. Or maybe Emperor Constantine. Or possibly St. Nicholas of Anatolia. I don't know. Problem is, mate, those billionaires pay those millionaires to write shit in newspapers for us paupers to lap up. And we do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not going to hear any disagreement out of me, Beans on Toast. You are 100% correct. George Bezos buys a bunch of newspapers, and now he controls what you see. Whoever I think is it Bezos that owns Google, whoever owns Google, they put algorithms on your search bullshit and control what you can see. And that's why, like the one guy who popped in earlier from Twitch and was like, Russia bad. And it's like, dude, read something other than Western news, please. If you all you read is Western news, you would be convinced Ukraine's winning. And it's like, and yet Western news keeps telling you, oh, Ukraine won this victory, Ukraine won that victory. But every time you look at the map, the area of Russian control just keeps moving west. So it's like, you know, I might be an idiot, but I am a war gamer. And I do know losing territory is not how you win wars. It's actually quite the opposite. You win wars by not losing territory and taking territory. So, yeah. Yeah. But you have people in America. I mean, right now in America, you can be racist against two people. You can be racist against straight white men all day long, and you can be racist against Russians specifically. And it's like, wow. A lot of Russian people, like my dad, have been in this country for a couple generations. They could never imagine being more loyal to Russia than America. And yet, you know, because they're Russian, they're automatically bad. That's kind of weird, you know. That seems kind of weird. You know, I've had Polish people tell me I'm not Slavic. Like right to my face, say, you are not a Slav. And I'm like, no. And they're like, you're a Viking. And to be fair, my bloodline, yes, it does got a lot of, Norwegian and everything in it. And I get where they're coming from, since it was the House of Rurik from Sweden that actually created the Russian Empire. But, there was a lot of intermingling there. So calm down. Wars can be won through attrition, which is not a war Ukraine will ever win. I mean, if we're going to talk attrition, Russia wrote the book on wars of attrition. They literally did. That is how they win wars. The algorithms led me to this channel, those bloody villains. That's weird, because for the longest time, I was pretty sure that my channel was kind of shadow banned. So I don't know what you were searching for, but you found this place somehow. Yeah, I don't like the idea of digital currency, because the problem with digital currency is if you piss the wrong people off, they can just say, no, you got no money now. There was an actual Black Mirror episode where everything you could do and have and everywhere you can go, etc., is based on like how many up votes you got versus down votes. And this woman basically had a string of bad luck, and she kept getting voted down. And so it got to where she's basically homeless because she couldn't have the apartment she had lived in, and she got fired from the job she had. I mean, I know that's taking it to the extreme, but hey, sometimes you got to take things to the extreme to prove the point that, yeah, maybe this ain't a good idea. Maybe this is not a good idea. Brother, avenge me, brother. Hungar will avenge me. I have no doubt of that. So anybody planning ill will towards me, just know that. I am from Kentucky. I am a hillbilly, and I will be avenged. In this life or the next. Actually, that's a quote from The Good Gladiator. I haven't watched the new Gladiator because I simply cannot stand to look at Pablo Picasso or whatever his name is anymore. I'm so sick of him. And it's not even anything he's done or said. It's just that I'm sick of him. He's in too many movies, and it's like Zendaya. How do they keep casting that girl into movies? She sucks. And boy, oh boy, I don't want to hurt her feelings. The worst Channy ever. All she did is stand around and look like she had to poop her pants. And also in the new movie, she's kind of like skeptical and shit of Paul. But in the book, Channy was on board with Paul from the start. You know what I mean? She was like his most loyal believer. So it's like, hey, how do you downgrade a character? Well, you put Zendaya in the role instead of whoever else you could have put in the role. Like it kind of makes sense in that weird way that people talk about, because in the books, Chani is redheaded. And that theory, maybe a conspiracy theory, whatever, about how Hollywood keeps replacing all the gingers with black actors in like every movie. So I don't know. I've never really wanted to buy into conspiracy, but it seems like some of them keep coming true. It's like, because it's like, oh, it's a redheaded character. Well, we got to get rid of that immediately. Mary Jane, a big-titted red-haired character? Nah, let's replace her with a flat-chested black chick. That'll be cool. Yeah, I knew that. I knew that quickly. And plus, the only time you'll see me get serious and kind of show my ass a little bit is generally the Twitch idiots that show up to say stupid shit like, you support genocide, you're evil racist, blah, blah, blah. Those guys, they don't make me mad, but I always give them an earful, let them know they can go get bent. seems like conspiracies are winning 31-0. I mean, there's definitely some shit going on, right? And I'm a little pissed off currently at our current regime because I know people keep saying you got to wait, you got to wait, you got to wait. But for the love of God, all you assholes that I elected, release the files. I want to know who was on Epstein Island. And even if it was Trump, I don't give a shit. They need to all be in jail. So this whole idea of, you got to wait. I don't want to wait. I want we know they got the files. We know they got the list. Just put the fucking list out already. Stop being shitheads. It's like we already went through X amount of years of a completely corrupt government. You got elected on the idea that you wouldn't be a completely corrupt government. I always give them leeway to say a little corrupt. So since you were elected to not be a corrupt government, stop your bullshit and put that shit out. And that I would say that against Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Bongino, Trump, all of them. Enough with the bullshit. It's been 3 months. I want to know who the snakes are crawling through Hollywood and stuff like that. And I want their asses in jail. Yeah, see, Jose, I don't know if that's true, but I'll tell you what. If within the next year, those records never come out, I will switch over and be like, yeah, Jose was right. I mean, I'm going to give it a year or so before I start getting really freaking temperamental about the shit. But I don't see why I should have to, though. I mean, if the FBI has the records, put them out. Stop playing coy. I mean, now a lot of the other stuff he's been trying to get done, and hopefully the GOP will back him on it. I'm 100% for. Like the no tax on tips, no tax on old people on Social Security, stuff like that. I'm 100% for. But the not letting any of the information out that we were promised, that does piss me off. And you can see if you watch Benny Johnson, stuff like that, a lot of the more conservative leaning pundits have the same issues I have. They're just like, really? Hey, Cash, go into the Hoover building, fire everyone there that even looks like they might be shady, and then release the freaking documents. No problem. Jose, I'm not going to say you're necessarily 100% wrong. What I'm saying is I'm going to wait. And, because in my mind, the verdict is still out. I mean, to be fair, though, even if you're right, still a substantial improvement over cackling Kamala. I mean, 100%. You know what I mean? So I don't regret my vote. And people who are like, I regret my vote. It's like, you freaking retard. Are you literally going to sit here and say that you regret not voting for Kamala Harris? I mean, what is wrong with you? I mean, you could have voted for a freaking goat. That'd have been better off. So even if you hate Trump, at least he's not Kamala. Damn. And that is, for anyone who's not American listening to me rant, that is American politics, basically, in a nutshell, right there. What you just heard. That is pretty much our politics. You pick the least shitty of two turds, basically. And anyway, I was just like, yeah, a lot of people say I am an evil racist. And it's really weird since I come from an ethnically mixed family. I was raised in the Jewish religion for the majority of my life. You know what I mean? I don't actually hate anyone except maybe one of my ex-wives because she was mean to our kids. But you know how it is, though, Lee. It's like if you don't agree with Hassan Piker, you're basically a racist.
I'm a racist.
You see, how can you be a racist and you got black kids? Well, half.
See, I'm the most anti-racist because
Yeah, I was telling everybody if anybody's got their end card, it's you.
to be a
you know, you've dropped more seed into black women than God.
To be a racist, you have to hate individual type of people for their ethnicity, religion, or color of their skin, right?
Except the Dutch.
Well, I hate everybody equally.
Yeah, I know that's your joke, but in reality, you're full of shit.
I really hate everybody.
No, you don't. You're literally one of the nicest, kindest people on the planet. Stop trying to be tough.
Just because I'm nice doesn't mean I like somebody.
Me, American politics is alien. Well, there is an old Arabic saying that says, just because a lion shows you its teeth doesn't mean it's smiling. But you're not Egyptian, so whatever. And guys out there, do not believe Hungar. There's not a mean bone in that guy's body. He has never been mean to anybody in his life. As a matter of fact, the only time he's ever gotten into fights is backing me up when I was doing stupid shit.
Or somebody messing with you.
Or somebody was messing with me, and Hungar would step in like a good little brother, and we'd throw down. But, yeah, that guy, dude, you're so full of shit. You've always been the best-natured person I know.
I'm Christian to your Andrew.
Christian?
Tristan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whereas I've always been the more of the loner that kind of don't like anybody. Anyway.
I'm getting to where the older I get, the less I like people.
Well, I mean, you know what I think my problem is? When I was like 10, I had the mentality of like a 70-year-old. It's like I was a 10-year-old kid and I still was yelling at other kids to get off my damn lawn. So, you know, it's like I was just born old.
Yeah,
like,
get off my lawn, you whippersnapper.
Yeah, I was just like never had any time for all the tomfoolery. You know, it was like American politics is alien. Well, I mean, it is to us too, Jose.
Alien politics is American.
I mean, now, do I think our politics are the best in the world? Absolutely. 100%. We have the best system that gives the most possible people the most possible freedom, the most possible amount of the time. So awesome. But is it a convoluted freaking mess full of corrupt assholes and sociopaths? For sure. I would not be surprised if half the people sitting in Congress and the Senate right now are satanic freaking whatever. I mean, I know that's a conspiracy that people like to throw around like Alex Jones. But you know what the problem is? Alex Jones has been right too many times.
31-0, baby.
There was a time when you could be like, Alex Jones is crazy. I don't believe him. That time has passed. That dude has been right too many times to ignore it now. Now we're in the time where you're like, Alex Jones said this, and I don't know. You know, people called him a liar about Bohemian Grove until he snuck in there and actually filmed that shit. You know, people talk all this shit about this dude, and then like, literally, remember when everybody made fun of Alex Jones for saying the frogs were getting turned gay? Well, it turns out that, yes, there's a chemical that they spray on crops that literally can rewire a frog's brain and make it gay. So he was right. It's
Here's
like
how I,
crazier and the more stupid the shit he says, the more likely it's true. You know, it's like,
here's how I am. I love my country. I hate my government. Taxes are bullshit. If they tax each
well,
working
taxation is theft right off the bat.
if they just tax each working American $1 a week, they should have enough money to pay for everything.
Well, $1 a week would be $52 a year, and then multiply that by close to 400 million people. So let's say just 5 times 20, because there's a lot of numbers dangling out there. So that would be 400 million times 50, and that's got to be in the billions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, the government should be able to run on that.
yeah. If they can't, then they need smaller government.
Well, I mean, you're talking about an organization that can literally call for a vote to give themselves a raise.
Which is bullshit.
It's like,
We get us recipients of Social Security who paid into the system can't vote to give ourselves a raise of all the money
what's
that.
crazy is people on Social Security, my man, you were taxed on every nickel you earned, and they put it into Social Security, and then when they pay you back, they take taxes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem, that's one thing Doge just showed us. It's like, it's not a taxation problem, it's not an income problem, but maybe spending billions of dollars to teach Costa Ricans how to be gay is not something we should be doing.
I'm not interested in that at all.
Well, here's the thing. I think the people in the countries aren't French gay by default. Hey, I'm right there with you, hating on the French. Like my brother says, as they say in Paris, assalamu alaikum, my brother. Anyway, I think that US aid bullshit, I think the countries we were sending the money to probably didn't want it. It's like, I can't imagine somebody in Serbia being like, I'd like Americans to send some meddling assholes over here to teach us to be more feminist. Yeah, that just does not seem, based on my knowledge of the Balkans, that just doesn't seem like something that's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the people of Nepal never woke up and said, hey, U.S. government, can you send some people to Nepal to teach us how to be atheists? Because, for one thing, Nepal is this tiny little country on a mountain. And for the other thing, why are we paying all this money? Why do we give a fuck about their religion? Like, you want to be an atheist, be an atheist. You want to be a Buddhist, be a Buddhist. Do whatever you want to do, but
Because the government wants to get rid of Christianity.
I don't think there are many Christians in Nepal. I think they're all Buddhists.
The government wants to get rid of. Okay, the government wants to get rid of religion except for one.
Well, I mean, yeah, you've got the left religion, which is kind of like you've replaced God with the state. I mean, you see that with Antifa. They're the first one screaming about we hate cops, F the cops, blah, 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 right? But the second a counter protester shows up and knocks one of those skinny jeans wearing guys out, they call the cops. So it's like, so ultimately you're a bunch of bitches is what you're saying, like all cops are bastards. Oh, help, a Proud Boy just beat the shit out of me because I tried to bash his head in with a metal pipe. Like, yeah, take your skinny jeans and go home.
Dude, I made the best thing ever for dinner tonight.
Did you?
I got some puff pastry and I smothered, just put a metric butt ton of cheese on it. And I put puff pastry on top and baked it. So it was like a grilled cheese puff pastry.
Well, I mean, Anyway, I think that foray into politics ran a few people off. Plus, Bear's watching a movie right now. What time is it?
It's 7-Eleven.
Well, I'll probably be up a little while, but yeah, I want to get the floors mopped and vacuumed today, and get the bathroom scrubbed. You know, the toilets and stuff.
After I woke up last night when you were doing your stream at like 2 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't fall back asleep.
I know you were playing Destiny at like 4 a.m.
Yeah. Ever tried beans on skewer, Jose?
I don't think they eat cats in Costa Rica, homie.
No, he's asking me if I've ever tried beans on skewer.
Because Bear's cat's name is Beans.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how in the Bruce Lee movie Enter the Dragon, he eats a cat. Like on camera.
How about Super Cop with Jackie Chan when they're in a restaurant? They're like, "Hey,
roast cat with peas, please."
Yep.
Yeah. They order cat with peas in Super Cop.
Daryl. Yeah.
He married. Oh,
you know this is Hungar, right, guys?
Yeah, but it says Haas.
Yeah.
But they know who you are. You're my brother. They know that I have one brother that joins me in chat all the time.
Yes, I am married. I have the best relationship ever. I see my wife about a week every month and a half.
Hungar's wife is an over-the-road long-distance truck driver, which means she's doing the route from New York to California or whatever the hell she does.
He just goes all over wherever they send her.
She spends a lot of time on the road. She gets paid a shit ton of money because truck driving, if you can handle it, is a good, you can get 6 figures. Yeah. And then she hangs out with my brother. She's a nice girl. Everybody likes her.
She loves me.
Nothing at all bad to say about her. And even if I did have something bad to say, I wouldn't.
I can call up my woman and be like, "Where you at?" She's like, "I'm out on the streets making your money, Daddy." And I'm like, "That's right."
God.
Because she really is.
I was telling Bear, you're like an albino hood rat. And he was like, "Oh, dear Lord." And I was like, "I'm sorry, but you know, it's the way it is. He's my brother. I know him. That guy's running wild in the streets. Like hood ratting with the best of them." Well, I think it's because somebody was talking about the N-word or something and how you can't say it. And I was like, I think my brother could get away with it. At least in the one public housing place we lived. Because, I mean, you'd slept with so many of the black chicks there and all the brothers knew you, so. Yeah,
he did probably white chocolate.
I mean, believe it or not, guys, there are times, especially here in the South, there are times where, as a white guy, you can get away with calling a black guy the N-word, as long as it's not hard R. Like if you're like close, you're friends, whatever, you can roll up and dap out and be like, "What up, man?" And he'll say it right back to you. So now you're the whitest guy on the planet, 40% Norwegian and whatever, and they're calling you their, I'm not going to say it because the idiots that run YouTube will get really mad, but
quickly, I don't like to think that of me and my brother as 2 peas in a pod. I'd like to think that we're like more like 2 reeds in a tard.
Peas and carrots, and you're Gen A.
No, I'm not the villain.
Wonder how you ended up with an experimental dinner.
I saw it online and I wanted to try it, and I do all the cooking anyway, and I am a fantastic cook. You can ask my brother.
He is a good cook. The wife saw something the other day where they're talking about one key to a really juicy steak is to salt it and then let it sit for like hours.
Yeah.
Pre-salted. And the salt does something to seal the outside of the steak so that when you actually cook it, all of the juice stays on the inside of the steak.
And before you cook your steak, you should at least let it set room temperature for 15 to 20 minutes, if not longer.
2 beans on a skewer.
When you cook your steak, you want it to be room temperature because that way it will sear it a lot better.
I don't know what my brother and I prove. We could not be different, more different in reality, guys. Like, we love each other and we always have a great time hanging out and getting into shit. But the reality is, he and I could not be any more different than if it had been planned that way. Our personalities are totally different. The things we like, totally different. Like, you know, he was super punk rock when I was listening to freaking The Cure. He dyed his hair green and had a big ass mohawk. I wore my hair long. I mean, like, literally, we are so different from each other, and yet we get along famously. It's crazy thing. I mean, we do agree on some stuff, obviously, but
Yeah.
that don't mean we agree on everything. But if me and Haas disagree on something, I'm just like, well, okay, whatever. Or I say, gay, you know, and then we move on. We get over it. We do whatever we're going to do. I mean,
I
he
like
is a shit
my
talker,
brother.
though, I'll tell you that. The worst thing that can ever happen is to let this asshole beat you at a game of Battletech. It might happen once a year to me, but then you hear about it once a month for like the next year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever you do, if you have a brother like Haas, do not ever let him beat you at Battletech, because he will not shut up. This guy will call our mom to tell her how he beat me at Battletech.
Yeah.
See, he's not even ashamed.
And when we play war games, if I play Russian, I'm playing the Russian national anthem.
Oh, yeah. He had his cell phone, and when we played Flames of War, he played the Russians, and like the whole time I'm sitting there, he's playing the Soviet national anthem, and I'm just like, oh, God, this guy. I mean, that's a true story. But then again, when I got big into World of Warships, and I was playing the Russian cruiser line, I was constantly playing the theme song from the Red October. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess that runs in our family, I guess.
Yeah, we're always
Miniature bro died in a bar fight. That is horrible. Miniatures nuts. Yeah. See, Hungar is not a miniatures nut at all. As a matter of fact, the only miniatures Hungar owns are stuff I bought for him, pretty much. Like, if I get into any kind of war game, I always buy 2 armies so that Hungar can have one. So
well,
that
I have my own miniature.
Huh?
I have my own miniature.
I showed it off the other day. I've got it right here on my shelf. I got 3 of them because I've got the fire giant, the human, and the dwarf. Yeah, Hungar has his own actual miniature. You can find it on Cults 3D. But yeah, Daryl, that's horrible, man. That is horrible. I lost a kind of brother years back, and it takes a while to get over that shit.
Yeah.
It does. It's an absolutely, you don't wish it on anyone. Of course, my situation has some slight supernatural tinges to it. If you guys want to hear the story, say so in chat, and I will consider telling you the story. It's very personal, though. And, so if you want to hear the story, don't make fun of me for the story.
I was supposed to die a few years ago.
You nearly did. You tried your best. Baltec Miniatures nuts and Star Wars nerd. Yeah, I can forgive the fact that you're a Star Wars nerd. And Baltec, I mean, you know, that's just the best board game that ever existed. So.
Yes.
And I say that as a huge, well, used to be a huge 40K fan, fantasy fan, all that. But given the choice of playing a Games Workshop game and a match of Battletech, I'll take Battletech any day.
Any day of the week.
I mean, and people are like, but Battletech takes so long to play. It's like, it's funny because once you learn the rules and you know the secrets to how to play Battletech, you can crank single player game or, you know, one-on-ones out, no problem. No
That's something that really pisses me.
And very quick. Like Hungar and I can sit down and play 350 tons or whatever we play, 3025 era, so the first TRO, and Lance on Lance, and game will be over in 45 minutes to an hour.
You want to hear something that really pisses me off? I'm going to tell you. People get on there and they're like, it takes so long to play the game. And I'm like, yeah, it's a freaking game. It's supposed to pass the time and then give you enjoyment and entertainment. I don't care if it takes the longer it takes to do something that I'm having a lot of fun doing. Why am I going to bitch about it?
Well, because if you're complaining that a game takes too long, it means that you shouldn't probably be playing the game, I'd say.
Yeah, if you're complaining about a game taking too long, you're not enjoying the game. Why are you playing it?
Right. It's like people used to be that way about Warhammer too. And of course, the people, these idiots, they'd always write to Games Workshop, and Games Workshop will make changes in their rule sets to appease the idiots. And, you know, oh man, you know, I wish the game didn't take 2 hours to play. And it's like, so you spent 100 hours painting an army up, and then who knows how many hours, you know, theory hammering to build the army and the terrain, and you drove across town to the comic shop. So you did all this shit to play a game, but you want the game to be over as quick as possible.
Because they don't want to play the game. They want to know the ending of the game. They want to know how the game turns up. When I play a game, I won't play the game.
Right. Unfortunately for Hungar, when we play Baltec, it usually turns out with me headshotting his biggest mech.
Oh, yeah. You headshot somebody's mech every time they play, and you never go hear the end of it.
Yeah. Usually it's Hungar being like, did you just headshot my Marauder and kill it? And I'm like, yeah. It's like, damn. And I'm like, well, bro, little tactical tip here. Do not move your 75-ton mech to a hilltop with no cover. Because when you do that, my Orion is going to unload on your ass. Come on, James.
Yeah, but chances of getting a headshot are not that high, but you always end up doing it.
Well, they're 1 in 12, I guess, right? I don't know what the odds are actually, but if you're standing in medium range without any sort of cover and you only move 3 hexes, and I don't move any hexes because I mean, when you start looking at the mods to hit, it starts looking really good, especially an Orion with an AC-10 and a large laser and an LRM-20 and, you know, all the good shit that it can sling at you, right? Okay, yep. Okay, quickly. Don't make fun of me, but here it is. There was a time period when I went through some really rough stuff, and this would be directly after I got super injured at the fire department, and the doctors told me I would never be a fireman again. Right? I did not take that well because whether people like it or not, I was addicted to the job. It just is what it is. I mean, I lived for that job. I loved it. So I ended up kind of having a little bit of an issue. And they put me in a hospital. And it is a loony bin. You're going to the loony bin. Nervous breakdown, nervous breakdown. Anyway, that's the wedding singer. Well, for about a week, every morning, my best friend Marcus would show up and we would hang out for about an hour and eat breakfast together in the cafeteria of this hospital. Very nice hospital. Very, very, I can say that. The city that I worked for, they made sure I got all the best treatment I could. And I think it was because I was a firefighter. I don't think they offer that shit to, your average line tech or something. But so I finally go into a PTSD dissociative state and jump out of a second floor window and try to run from the place because somehow I got it in my mind that I'd been captured and was being imprisoned. And they catch me and they tell me, look, we can't have this guy here. We lack the capability to handle him. And while he's never been violent, if he decides to become violent, we'd be in a lot of trouble, So my dad had to drive all the way up to the hospital and pick me up. Now, bear in mind, I've already told you I spent the whole week prior to that eating breakfast every morning with my best friend, Marcus.
More like a brother to us.
More like a brother to both of us. This guy knew where all the bodies were buried. This is a guy that would loan you money without even asking if you'd pay it back. This guy was truly a brother,
Our kids called him uncle. His kids called us uncle. He was family.
He was family. And, we had each other's backs in so many gang fights and shit. But anyway, so my pops picks me up and I'm still kind of loopy as shit because they had me on all kinds of drugs too. And I'm like, I can't wait to get home. The first thing I'm going to do is hang out with Marcus. Maybe we'll go get some barbecue or something. And my dad says, Marcus died like a week and a half ago. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, about a week and a half ago, he died in his sleep. He had a massive blood clot in his pulmonary artery, died in his sleep. Didn't even know he was dying, but he did. So who was I eating breakfast with every morning? Right? And here's what's even weirder is by eating breakfast with, I was only drinking the orange juice and eating the banana. I was giving him my breakfast. He was eating it. Now, bear in mind, I was in an altered mental state at that time. But in my altered mental state, I somehow had convinced myself that I was hanging out with him for that whole week leading up to me being discharged out of that place. Only to find out that during that entire duration, he had already been dead. Which also means I couldn't go to his funeral because I was in a freaking hospital. And no one wanted to upset me, so they didn't tell me he died until after I got out of the hospital.
I was going to tell you, but the Ritz said that I wasn't allowed.
Right. So that is the story of how my best friend, practically brother, died, and yet somehow in my mind spent a week hanging out with me every morning. Just talking, shooting the shit over breakfast like we always did.
He could have been.
Yeah, and I don't believe in ghosts. But maybe his spirit stopped by a little bit just to be like goodbye, on his way to heaven. Now, if I seen him again, I'd be like, this is probably a demon trying to trick me. But at the time, maybe, I don't know, guys. Call me crazy. Call me crazy if you want. I was legit in a mental ward because with men, sometimes, especially men that have certain careers, you tie your identity up into that career so hardcore that if you lose that career, you completely lose grasp on who you even are. And that happened to me. And apparently it's a very common thing amongst
Like-
people who do high stress, you know, like cops, first responders and shit like that. They get all like, you know,
Like if
the
you're a
job
truck
becomes
driver,
too much of a part of you.
like if you're a truck driver and then you get injured where you can't drive truck anymore, so you become a recluse and never leave your bedroom but 3 times a week.
Yeah. And see, here's the thing. It depends. Like if it was immediately after she died, then it could have been, I think, her spirit kind of trying to let you know everything's okay. But if it was a long time after she died, it was demonic. Vampires come from Romania, bro. Come on. Thanks for sharing. I'm honored to have heard that story. He was truly a bro. And
He
like
was-
I said, I am 100% willing to believe that it was all in my head because I was completely out of my tree at that point. But it's just so weird that I imagined eating breakfast 7 days in a row with the one guy I know who died. I mean, coincidence? Yeah. Yeah, it could 100% be a coincidence. I would never sit here and try to argue that scientifically a thing. But it did happen in my mind. And you know, what happens in your mind is reality. You know what I mean? If you observe it and see it, it's your reality. It's, you know, it's what you know, because we all, like every one of us here, I'm going to get a little philosophical, but only for a minute. Every one of us here sees the world differently than every other one of us here. None of us actually know what any other human is actually seeing.
Yeah, I've
Like,
thought that before myself. It's like, how do I know that the blue that you see is the same blue that I see?
right. As requested. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's what happened. Fair game tomorrow. Yeah, fair game tomorrow. I had to. I mean, look, I'm 100% open with everybody about this stuff. I have been diagnosed with PTSD because I've seen so many horrible things in my line of work that I developed PTSD. Like for real, not like a Tumblr self-diagnosis. Like, dude, you're having reoccurring nightmares about this really bad call you had because PTSD, you know? And prior to being diagnosed, I didn't even believe in a lot of that shit. You know, I was always like, you're not having a panic attack. Calm the F down. You know what I mean? Breathe in this bag or something. I was really dismissive about mental health because I have always been a man of, I guess, the world, you know? Things existed to me because I could see and measure them. So if I hooked you up to my life pack and I looked at your rhythm and I saw that, you know, you had a dysrhythmia or you're tombstoning or some shit, I mean, that is empirical. That I believe. I'm looking at you, you're having a heart attack. All the machines say you're having a heart attack. I believe that. But if you tell me, oh, I can't breathe, it's like I can't measure that. So I've become more skeptical about it. But then my current therapist explained what PTSD actually is and went through a book with me and explained why I get the diagnoses I got and why it affects me the way it does. And yeah, the science was there. You know, I mean, the science was there. Basically, I've seen too much death in my life. And then getting super injured and being on a lot of drugs and losing my career, that only piled even more shit on top of the other stuff. So,
And what's crazy is you've always been more open and talking about your problems to like our mother and people and stuff
yeah,
like that.
you always keep everything down low.
I keep
Yep.
everything like bottled in to myself. It's
Yep.
my problem. Don't worry about it. And you're the one who snapped first, the one who was opening up more.
You know, Daryl, it's funny that you post that because one of the reasons I think when I got out of the Army, I tried to go to college, had the GI Bill and all that, and I couldn't do it And the reason is, I think now looking back on it, 30 years later, I remember having complete disdain for everyone in the class, including the teacher, because I could not relate to anyone who had not been where I'd been. And I lived many years like that, Daryl, for many, many years. Like Hungar was my brother, so he gets a pass, right? But like if I met you and you were some young punk that had never been anywhere and, whatever, never served in any branch of the military, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I immediately thought less of you. Now, that's not a good thing. It's not a Christian thing, but then again, I wasn't Christian at the time. But it was what it was. So if you had those feelings too, then me and you are peas in the pod with that. Because I could be standing in a room full of people playing Warhammer. There could be 40 people there at the tournament. I would not feel any kinship with anyone there except my brother and the guy who ran the comic shop, Craig, who had been in the 82nd Airborne and also in Iraq. Him and I were freaking, you know what I mean? But literally everyone else in that comic shop was less than a bug to me. I couldn't relate to them at all. They tell me their worries and whatever was going on in their life, and I would just look at them like,
you'd be like, yeah, whatever. How many people did you kill?
So well, I wouldn't ask how many, but I'd just be like,
that's what you were thinking.
Couldn't take them serious. I was just like,
that's what you were thinking. You know it, and I know it. See that look in your eye.
People asked me how many people I killed, and I hated that. That's not polite. It is not polite to ask a veteran how many people they killed. But young people always want to do that.
Yeah.
And when you're playing 40K and there's some 14-year-old kid there, and like the first thing out of his mouth is, so how many people did you kill? And it's like, don't worry about it. It's some personal shit, right? Like, especially if you're like me and you're not 100% sure the people you killed were the ones you should have been killing. But then again, that's a whole different layer of my personality.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, especially all through history.
Yeah. Jose, going through EMT and medic school and all that taught me to believe in empirical evidence because it is part of the job. You never diagnose anyone when you're in the back of the rescue. You just try to rule out everything, and whatever is left is what you have to deal with. And you have a lot of machinery that can help you. You can check their blood sugar, no problem. You can put them on a monitor, do a 4-lead. If the 4-lead don't look great, do a 12. Maybe even put some of those leads on their back so that they can, you can get a different view of the heart, because sometimes the issue could be on the back side of the heart, right? I mean, there's so much shit you could do, and it's all empirical evidence. You have a graph, and it's showing you a rhythm. And then you go on with that, right? Or you took blood sugar, and their blood sugar's ERR, which means it's so high or low that our machine is like, I can't even read this shit, right? And then you go on with that. But
that sucks, Daryl.
Now, I'll take the Bible on faith because I think the Bible is scientifically realistic, because I don't believe the apostles or disciples and all of the church elders could all tell the same lie for 2,000 years. And I have a hard time believing a man would die rather than recant what he knew was a lie. And almost every one of those apostles up there on that icon of mine died. They were murdered. And not a single one of them ever recanted.
It's like when people get offended when they see
So to me, that's eyewitness testimony, man. If you're actually willing to die over something you said, I'm going to take that serious. Respect the war veterans. Hey, I was young. It was something to do. Did 2 tours in Iraq. Ended up killed by a shitbag felon on parole. That, Daryl, you are having a hard life, man. I'm going to add you to my list of people I pray for.
When people get offended when they see upside down cross, I'm like, hey, Paul, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, was that Paul or Peter?
It might have been Peter. It
I
was
know
one of the
them said they weren't worthy to be crucified the same way Jesus was. I know one of my favorite saints, Andrew, he got whacked on an X.
Yeah.
Which is why the Russian Navy flag is an X. It almost looks like a Confederate flag, except with no stars. And it's because that's the cross of St. Andrew, which Scotland used, England used, Florida uses. Yeah. So, yeah. Andrew is the apostle that brought the word to the Slavs and then got killed for it. Because that's what happened, you know. Matthew got murdered by some king in Africa, you know. Dude, I used to hang out, Jose, in the local VHF or whatever, veterans, you know, basically bar where veterans hang out. VFW, yeah. And all the Vietnam vets there were like super chill with me, you know. Like they check you out and you know, they ask you what's up. And I was like, yeah, I was in 24th ID, 37 Infantry, Cotton Bellers, by God. And I spent a year in the Middle East and whatever. And they're like, oh, cool. Come here. Let's have a beer, man. And then you spend the rest of the night drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon. And then you wake up the next morning with a splitting headache and a case of the screaming memes like you wouldn't believe. And to explain screaming Mimi, it's an inside joke between Haas and I, but it means like really bad diarrhea. Because PBR gives me a splitting headache and diarrhea like crazy. I don't know what in the hell's wrong with that beer, but it F's me up every single time.
And it was Peter who was crucified upside down.
It was
Peter.
Yeah, I thought it was Peter, but I wasn't sure. That's why I drink Yingling when I drink beer. And I drink that ultra light Yingling now because, you know, I can't have all the sugar and carbs. But because that stuff doesn't give me a headache. That's why I drink vodka, actually, because I could drink half a gallon of vodka and wake up the next day and have some eggs and toast and be fine. You know, I don't know if it was something in my upbringing or genetics or whatever, but a privileged life.
What's that like? Did you get any of that white privilege?
Life? Quickly, I don't know what you think a privileged life is, but I wouldn't trade my life for anything.
Yeah, he might have got all of our white privilege.
Well, he is British. He is British. So, I mean, maybe he got a double dose of the white privilege that us hillbillies in Kentucky missed out on.
Yeah, or us, you know, Florida crackers in the ghetto.
Freaking, because I was born in Kentucky, but Haas over here, that's a Florida man.
In the ghetto.
Born and raised, not raised, actually. He spent as much time in Kentucky as I did, if not more, but he was born right here in the penis of the United States. He is the actual, like all the stories you hear about Florida, man, he is the basis for about half of them.
There's one thing that she don't need is the hunger bound to feed in the ghetto.
In the ghetto. Yeah. And his mama cried. Yeah. Yep. That was Hungar. Remember when we lived in the Section 8 housing? Man.
Yeah.
Kids.
Good times.
Yeah. That was a mess.
Very layoffs.
Good times. Easy credit rip-offs. Good times.
Didn't survive it.
Does that make Georgia the boss tag? Yeah, I guess so, right? Or Alabama. I would say Alabama because we're talking about a droopy phallus. So then it would have to be Alabama because Alabama's right there on the other side of the Gulf.
So that makes Mississippi the taint.
So Mississippi would be the taint. Yeah. And then Louisiana would be the literal rectum.
Louisiana rectum, hell, nearly killed him.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, yeah, you could think of it like that. But I mean, guys, if you want to have a good laugh and you've never done this before, and I say this especially to our British friend, just go on YouTube and type in Florida man. You will laugh. You will laugh because no one
Type
in
in your
the
birthday
United
and
States,
Florida man.
the only people close to Florida man are Australians. When it comes to, let's see who can do the stupidest shit. I mean,
There's a Florida man one time got buck naked and hung from a traffic light and was pooping on cars, screaming out that he was a seagull.
we have signs in the Disney area that say, please do not feed hallucinogenic drugs to the alligators. That's a real thing. And when you see a sign like that, that means somebody at some point thought it'd be funny to feed LSD to alligators.
Please don't sexually assault the alligators.
That's a thing. We had a guy throw an alligator into a Wendy's drive-through window once.
Had a drunk guy run into a liquor store with alligator over his shoulder and run out with a 12-pack of beer.
Yeah. Yep. Florida man. Florida man is world renowned. Florida man is, hey, you ever seen any of those videos of Russians doing crazy shit that should absolutely kill them, but somehow they don't die? You know, like chasing a bear down and jumping on it and wrestling it to the ground and shit like this. Yeah, Russia is basically European Florida.
There's this
And Australia is South Pacific Florida.
there's this 12-foot alligator on the side of the road, so they called good old Florida man up. He comes up, hops out of his pickup truck, barefooted, jumps on that damn 12-foot alligator, wrestles it down, tapes its mouth up, ties its legs up, and throws it in the back of his truck, barefooted.
Well, I mean, nobody in Florida wears shoes unless they have to. I don't have shoes on right now. The only time I wear shoes is when I'm going out to the store, and I always take the same things. I put my shoes on, I grab my Springfield Hellcat, put it in the pocket, and now I'm ready to go out into public.
Shoes, hat, wallet, pistol, keys.
Yep. Shoes, hat, wallet, pistol. I don't have any keys, so I need to look at Finns versus history. Why are Finns full of like doing crazy shit in Finland? I can believe it.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've all seen the crazy Russian dash cam bullshit. Florida man. Like, here's a story. This is a real story. You wouldn't believe it if I didn't tell you. A guy broke into these people's house in the middle of the night, and these people had a big, hairy Persian cat, like a super furry Persian cat. The Florida man who broke into the house shaved the top of the cat's head like a monk, tinsel, and then left. And the people woke up the next day, and the cat's sitting there with its hair tinsered by Florida man. One Florida man was driving down I-4 through downtown Orlando, sitting on the back of the front seat, steering with his feet because he had the car in frickin' autopilot, whatever it's called, and he was smoking crack and had an AR. That's Florida man. Florida woman tried to marry a fucking what's the wheel called, Haas? The ride that's a big wheel that you just go up on. Huh?
And now Ferris wheel.
Yeah. Florida woman tried to marry a Ferris wheel. Florida man called the cops because the strip club wouldn't let him bring his cat in with him. I mean, literally, there are hundreds. Florida man got arrested for taking his meth to the sheriff and asking the sheriff to test it because he wasn't sure it was meth. It was. He went to jail. I mean, literally, like we live in the Orlando area, which is the civilized part of Florida. When you start getting out into the swamps, Okeechobee and shit like that, this state gets weird quick. Weird really quick. I mean, There's a meme of an alligator swimming in a lake and it has a butcher knife stuck into its head. And the meme is, whoever can pull the knife out of the head of the alligator shall become the king of Florida. It's a big ass alligator too. So, you know. Oh, Finn is an English comedian. Okay. Is he the one that does the Ginger song? Because I love that guy. I mean, I'm a huge Ricky Gervais fan too, but whatever. I'm not saying I agree with every opinion he ever did, but the guy is funny. I mean, he's a funny guy. And of course, my favorite British person of all time, Carl Pilkington. Good old Carl Pilkington. I aspire to be like Carl Pilkington. Like when he describes his life, I think that's the life I want. You know, I'll avoid everyone. I'll go to lunch way after everyone else normally does. I'll order something really simple like beans on toast and some tea. And then I'll go home and do a little work around the house. And then when my wife comes home, she'll make me dinner. And then I'll tell her shit she doesn't care about. Because let me assure you, my wife's ability to give an F about Warhammer, that shit wore out about 19 and a half years ago. And yet, for some reason, sometimes I'll just start telling her about some Warhammer lore or some shit. And she'll just be looking at me like, you know, like, and my wife is a gamer. She just hates Warhammer. And then, of course, you know, go to bed. Maybe listen to the radio. See if anything new happened. Actually, my latest thing has been listening to Asmongold and Nuxanor tear the shit out of Hassan Abi. And in my opinion, he deserves it. He's a douchebag. But I don't want to ride that horse until it's dead. So I'm going to drop it there and probably get off of here because it is getting near 8. And yeah, I need to watch Finn. Phone died. It's okay. I'm ending it. My brother. Some people don't. So you probably definitely did not like the aesthetic of Warhammer added to BattleTech because that's like, get out of here. Miss me with that shit. But yeah, it's been about 3 hours. We've had a good talk, and I've got a couple more leapers I put on their show base. This will go on a normal base. This is what they call base topper. And I'll get these guys painted up because when I painted up on my necromorphs, I noticed I had a shit ton of slashers, but I only had like 3 leapers. And I was like, nah, I need some more leapers. And at some point, I'm going to do the shading and the final highlighting on this thing here. So, you know, I think you guys see what's going on. I think you figured it out. And then I'll also do a highlight on, this is going to be our game board. It's the inside of I think this was a super high speed keyboard. And this box was really good. So I just 3D printed these out and glued them down into it. So this is going to be our playboard. So the miniatures, you know, each one of these squares is like a meter across, right? So if the character can move X amount of meters, then he can go across it. And I've also got some walls that are really thick. They're designed to stand up on their own. So if I put this on the table, I can actually put walls on it, temporary, you know, to show the actual area that a combat is. Because I only ever bust out like the UDT. And this is just a sci-fi UDT. I only bust that out for combat, you know. The rest of the time, it like the D&D miniatures, they stay on the table in their marching order so that everyone can look at the miniatures and knows who's where. That's all. And yeah. So I've got some walls that I can just throw down to make little rooms if they're fighting. But I'll probably dry brush that either a light gray or I've got this blade still, and it's a real good color.
He may meet you. He's misbehaving.
Is he
But right now,
misbehaving?
somebody's walking a dog around the cul-de-sac.
All right. All right. Yeah, I was just logging out anyway. We can talk about what we want for dinner and everything too. Yep, the wife. My dog thinks I'm the poop master. It's like he will hardly ever take a poop for my wife. But I can take him out and he'll drop a deuce almost immediately. And I think it's because maybe he feels safer with me watching because I'm bigger and he respects me as the alpha, you know? So he's like, dad's out here. I can take a poop and no one's going to hurt me because, you know, I'm just a little pup. But as long as dad's standing over there, I know I'm good. But my wife is about 2 inches too tall to be an actual dwarf. Not really, but, you know. And plus, he treats her different. Like, it's like there's this weird order of respect, you know? Like, he loves her to death, but he doesn't respect her as much as he respects me. The same union, right? Yeah, they need dad to be in the area so they can feel safe when they take their poop. And hey, I get it. I get it. We all want to be safe when we're in that most vulnerable of positions. So anyway, guys, peace and love. Good gaming. I got my game tomorrow night. I'm stoked. And if you guys got games going on, then I hope they go really good for you. And it was a good time.